level 1 educator car.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Guys. First off, I want to thank the Parapost Network for allowing us on their networks. Yerg's Radio down in Tampa, he is in a safe place right now. And we also want to thank WDJY. If everybody's ready, we've got a great show lined up tonight. Let's see who I've got hiding backstage here. I have Miss Cheyenne. You were froze. Okay, hello.
Oh. Hello.
Amanda.
Hey.
Ladies, how are you? And our first guest,
Fabulous.
He is a firefighter. I don't know if he's a paramedic or not. He probably slap me if I say that. Let's bring him out and find out. So,
well, remember, medics cry too much. So
medics cry too much. There it is, Glenn.
It is.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Hey,
good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be here tonight. And yes, I was a firefighter. I'm a retired firefighter, and no, I was not a medic.
See, so, I knew he'd slap me for it. So
no slapping, no slapping. This is a show all about love, right?
Yeah, well, you know how it is. Some firefighters don't want to, run those smooth med jobs. So
fear of the unknown, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Keith, tell us a little bit about yourself. You've got a great story.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Well, I grew up in a firefighting and military family in New England. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I am a masshole. I am not from Boston. Most people think that if you're from Massachusetts, you must be from Boston. It's not true. There's a whole bunch more state. So I grew up to the west, about an hour outside of Boston. And, my family had been in the fire service since like 1875. My mother's side primarily, and then my father's side was all military. So I grew up around it. I like to joke that I was potty trained at gunpoint. It's funny now, but it wasn't so funny growing up. It was kind of a strict household. But I was sort of born into it. And so I got on the job when I was still in high school. I got on as an on-call member for the department my family had been part of. And so I got sworn in 2 days after my 18th birthday. And then I did that job for 21 years before I ended up going out due to PTSD complications due to it. And I just, it was more administrative stuff. I couldn't deal with the crap. And so in 2017, I ended up leaving the job and ended up finding my way into the advocacy world and writing, which I had avoided writing most of my life. Got through college on Cliff Notes. And fudged my way through any sort of papers I had to write. But now I write all the time and I love it. So it's in a snapshot, that's sort of my life. The journey itself has a lot of pitfalls, I guess we'll call them. Lots of trauma, lots of collectively a lot of bad stuff I have been through in life. And eventually I was able to get through it, but going through it was a very long process. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I actually sort of emerged from it, if that sort of gives you a glimpse. And then we talk about some specific things. Anything you want to talk about?
Wow. Well, like you said, a lot of us are. I was third generation, so I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and it's a tough job. Not everybody can do it, but it's one of the most rewarding jobs you'll ever have.
Yep.
And if you are there long enough, it eventually bites you. So that's what I try and tell everybody.
Yep, it certainly does. You get bit by the bug, and it's hard to shake it too, even when you do leave the job.
Yes, it is very hard. I still, every time I hear a federal queue, I'm like, oh God.
There it is. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I typically have to sit down once it goes by. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then my wife elbows me and says, "You're almost 60 years old." And I'm like, "Not yet." So
It never gets old, though. It never gets old. And it's, once you live that life, it becomes a lot of your identity. And it's hard to shake when you walk away from that. It becomes everything. Even something as simple as just eating. And it took me a long time to slow down my eating once I left. I was always the first one done at the dinner table. I used to drive my wife nuts. And everyone in her family would be like, "Why do you eat so quick?" And I'm like, "Do you not remember what I did for work? Like, do you have any idea what it's like to not be able to finish a meal?"
I got places to be.
That's right. Always waiting for that shoe to drop.
Yep, waiting for the tones. So you went out in 2017, you said?
Yes, sir. 2017.
Okay. And when, I guess we'll back up a little bit. When you knew you were on the way out, what were some of the early warning signs that you had PTSD? Because I'll be honest, until a doctor told me, I denied it.
Right. Honestly, I had seen, therapists on and on for a while. And my first real stretch with a therapist was after my first wife died in a car accident in 2003. I saw a counselor first, stretch of time. And so I kind of stuck with one, and they diagnosed me originally with bipolar. And a lot of that was because I didn't talk about a lot of the things that happened both on the job. I didn't talk about anything from my childhood. I didn't talk about anything I'd really been through. They just worried about, oh, you were in a bad accident, someone you love died, and you got sad. And so it wasn't until my father died in 2014 that a lot of things kind of started bubbling the surface while I was on the job. And in 2015, I started having just like, hypervigilance. I started having like night terrors that had, subsided for years. I was an asshole at work, I guess. I was just not fun to be around. And it got to be such a personality that we knew it couldn't just be, oh, he's bipolar, or, he's anxious, or whatever it was. And so eventually I ended up going to up by us here in New England. We have a few first responder retreats. And the fire department I was on at the time had a line of duty years before, and they had one of the retreats come out. And so I got sent to this retreat. And for the first time, I started hearing words like, trauma and post-traumatic stress and stuff. And, I wasn't in the military. And, at that time, that was really where it was focused, was, returning soldiers. And it was sort of like a light at the end of the tunnel, like, oh, maybe this is what it is. And then eventually I went to another treatment facility up by me, and they made the official, diagnosis. I went through all the criteria, and that, beyond just getting a diagnosis, no one wants to be labeled. No one really wants to be labeled. That's what fun is that? It was a direction. It was, okay, so you've been taking all these meds and destroying your renal system for years, and they're not actually helping you, because that's not what your problem is. You don't have an A and B, cell thing. It's you've been traumatized your whole life. So it led us down a path of proper treatment and, right therapy, and eventually leading to what I really needed for healthy healing and coping skills. And so really it was the job. It was being on the job and having different aspects of the job affecting me that were causing like the hypervigilance and, me operating at a 10, even when I wasn't on the job.
Yeah, everything's at high speed.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that gets to be a problem when you're, around your family and you're at a birthday party, and, you go to flip a burger and it lands on the sidewalk, and it's, the end of the world. And it doesn't need to be. And those are some of the telltale signs when you go off the deep end for really unnecessary reasons.
Yeah, it's not a label you actually want, but once you get it, you're like, okay, well, now I know what's wrong.
Yeah.
And I always told my therapist that I thought we were bipolar because, well, we go to work and we put on a different face and a different personality for the public. And then we do us when we get home, but sometimes they don't mesh well together. So, yeah.
For sure. And then, once I had that direction, it kind of led us in a way that, made sense with all the other things that weren't working. And it has ups and downs. The healing journey with trauma, it's not a smooth line, right? There's a lot of circles in there. You do a lot of falling on your face. And most people, when they think, these days, because PTSD is a hot topic, especially in the first responder world, military world, and there's like a misnomer that you're gonna have one session with a therapist, or take one med or one treatment of something, and it's all gonna be done. You're gonna get your life back. You're not gonna be having nightmares anymore. You're gonna be a better husband or wife or employee or whatever it is, and it's a journey. And I've been on this journey since 2015 is when I really officially started getting true help with PTSD. And I still have really bad days. I have days where, I curl into a ball and I'm like, that's it. I don't want to do any more of this. And, but the difference is I'm aware that I'm doing it and why. And so I'm able to get back on my feet more. And that's really the key, is understanding and appreciating that it ain't going to go away. This isn't the flu. It's not chicken pox. This is trauma, and it's an injury that takes time to heal, and it never really leaves you. It leaves you with scars, and that's okay, because you can develop resiliency through it. And that's sort of what I've done. That's sort of what most of my story is being resilient.
Jay, you look like you had a question, so I didn't say anything.
No, I was just thinking over what he was saying. I get some of that.
Yeah. And did writing about it help a whole lot, or was it the process of just letting it escape? Or was it both?
It was a little bit of both. So my writing, when I first got help in 2015, my writing started as journal entries. I literally just started journaling about my day. This sucks. Today was worse. Tomorrow is shit, whatever. And it sort of then became like stories for my life. And then before I knew it, I was writing chapters. And then, eventually it became this collection, this long, 200,000 words of everything that I felt I had gone through. And it went through several versions. It went from being like, verbal diarrhea and just being pissed off all the time. And I think that was really healthy. Looking back on it, I realized I got a lot of pain out by venting in an angry way. But no one would want to read it. It was like a 12-year-old wrote it. It was pissed at mom and dad. And so finally I sat down in late, what year is it? 24, in late 23, and hashed the whole thing out. I took it from 180,000 words to what got published at 96,000, and I cut out a lot of the BS, and I changed how I wrote. Initially, it was like war story. I did this in the job, and it's like, yeah, that's great. We want to watch. You want something like that? Go watch Backdraft or watch Chicago Fire or something like that. And I realized that I think a lot of the problem with first responders and PTSD is a lot of people who either don't have it or have it and don't want to talk about it, don't know about the in-between moments. The downtime between the calls, the transition from being at work and then being at home. So going from, a cape wearing first responder to a mom or a dad, father, or or daughter or son, or whatever your title is, that transition and the in-between moments that you don't tell anyone, the moments that you're sitting by yourself in your basement, the times when you're by yourself and you're picking up the bottle, or popping the vein, or whatever your vice is. Those moments are what I end up spending more time on. And that's really what makes the book so raw, is that it's not like I showed up to the station and from 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. I did 24 calls. Everyone has an imagination. Most people know what first responders do this day. They have good looking actors on Chicago Fire. People pay attention to that crap. So I did the in-between, and it was very cathartic. It was, the goal was to publish a book, and I published a book, and I published a book about my life. And that's something that about 1% of the population can claim, maybe less.
It's true. It's true.
And how did you feel after?
Overwhelmed, honestly. The day of the book launch, I was pretty overwhelmed. But then, because I've been open about my life for a while, I've been advocating since about 2016, 15, and publicly speaking since 21. But then when I put a book out there, well, there was like a tangible thing, right? There was something people could hold and repeatedly look at what I had been through. It was a bit overwhelming. But now, it's been out for about 4 months. I feel very accomplished. I feel very satisfied with what I've done. So it's been, quite a journey with writing it, and the fact that I've somehow coasted through my entire school life without writing one report, and then got through college somehow without doing much writing either, to now be writing and being able to say I wrote a book is pretty big.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
I was going to say, did you self-publish or?
I did self-publish, and it wasn't a bad experience. There was some pain in the ass moments here and there because you're at their whim. But it was good. It went well. I had a pretty good say in a lot of the process, and I learned a lot, and I had a good mentor. The guy who did the foreword of my book, Adam Davis, very good mentor on how to get the whole process going. And he's a very successful author himself.
Awesome.
Have you started writing your next book?
Yeah, I write all the time now. So one of the things that I ended up doing was taking a chance at writing, and I ended up writing for Fire Engineering magazine back in the beginning of 2022. And it sort of took off from there, and I started writing for a publication for the New York State volunteer firefighters, and then now I write for 5 different publications, including Crackle up in Canada. And when I got done my first book, Alan, I had already started putting together what my next book would be, which would be more, less stories and more of like an actual like self-help, like how do you get through this crap? And like, what does it look like and everything else? And so it is starting to come together now. But it's tough, right? Because when you write, if you're not in a spot to write, you're going to write crap. And so it's been hard. This year's been very busy. So I haven't gotten much done, but I am in the process of getting the next book put together. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
Is the next one a continuation, or is it something totally different?
No, I mean, it'll have some stories about my life in it, but it'll be more along the lines of like a self-help book, like informational, get people to really kind of be able to apply where I've been and what I've done to their lives. And I haven't figured out the actual approach to it. It's tough to go from like with your story, right? It's not like writing an informational book. You know all the information, you lived it. I had more information than I really needed for the final product. But when you write a book that's going to be informational to try to help someone, just specifically information, to not make it boring, it's hard to compress all that. And that's where I'm kind of hung up on right now, is trying to figure out that next step. Like I can write an article in 4 or 5 hours, but you want to write a, whatever mini page, 300 page, 350 page book, it's a little bit more involved.
So you can kind of tell a story, and then this is how you got through it. These are the things you did.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I think I'll probably pull stuff from Alan as examples, probably write it a little differently, so it's not just a caption, but and then kind of like the how to and what it looks like, and really sort of slice and dice it up.
Yeah, I started to write about my experience, but I wanted to write. I was attacked on duty by a pit bull and taken, and all of our training, I've said this before, they never train. We train for bad people. We train for, all kinds of things. Never once did I ever train for anything animal related. And so that was what I wanted to start my book about. And so I started sitting down, putting it together, and I guess I got carried away because I'm looking at how to not get attacked by an alligator. And I'm like, okay, that's probably not one you have.
That's a rare one. Unless you're in New York City, maybe in New York City.
Yeah, well, and now with the hurricanes, they're being washed in, so who knows? But yeah, so that's I think I was using the research and the writing as a way to put it into place, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then I got like the shotgun approach to where I need to narrow it down, and so I'm starting to interview some, animal psychologists. There is such a thing, believe that or not, and get, learn more. The funny thing is, my uncle was a veterinarian. I grew up around animals, so I never.
It is something you don't think about on the job, especially like in the EMS side of things. That you're gonna get attacked by a dog, and one of the area I worked in. So I worked both, municipal fire, and then I worked like private EMS in like the inner cities and stuff. And up in New England, we have a few pretty nasty inner cities, and one of them is pretty riddled with gang activity, and they like to use pit bulls. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get attacked by it. Luckily, I had a cop by my side that took care of that. But you don't think about it. I never thought when I got on the job, I never thought I'm going to go to, Grandma Poopy Pants who's having a heart attack and, have a Doberman pincher come after my ass. I didn't, that's not something you think about. So, I mean, it's extremely relevant. And then, it's all those parts of the parts of the job that aren't spoken about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It breaks my heart because I have 2 pit bulls.
So do I.
They're such sweet babies.
They're amazing.
Totally trained to be mean. If they're mean, they've been trained.
100%. She wasn't trying to be mean, I don't think. He was a seizure patient that was MR, and if you don't know what that means, Amanda, mentally retarded. It's probably not the correct term anymore. But he was fighting, and I think she was trying to pull. I was the last one in. She was trying to pull us away. I think. I don't know. But, I never heard any growling, snarling, nothing like that. I just suddenly felt a pain in my hand. Then I realized I had another pain in my hand and was being pulled to the ground. Wait a minute. What's going on?
Trying to protect their owner.
So I think that's what hers was. I don't think hers was, but there are. I mean, I've actually interviewed a couple, a Washington, D.C. firefighter, L.A. firefighter that were attacked, and their stories were a little bit different. So, 15% of firefighter injuries are on-duty animal incidents.
Really?
That includes animals such as bees, crocodiles, but...
Bee attack on duty.
Damn.
Well, actually, there was just, I think it was Florida where all the problem is right now. No, North Carolina. They were going into somebody's home, and I guess the tree had fallen over, and the wasp nest had fallen into the area. And when they go in, their use are, they used, I think like 8 EpiPens and had to fly like 2 people out. So,
good Lord.
Yeah, it was a mass casualty incident during the rescue because,
not the bees.
Yeah, they walked in on it, didn't even know. So yeah, but yeah, it is crazy the things you run into. I mean, I'm still waiting on PD to show up on some of the scenes I was on where I called for.
Ain't the truth. Yeah. Yep.
I found the best way to get them there is to key up the radio and scream as loud as you can. Advise PD they're missing one hell of a fight. Man, they will helicopter and then
yep. Works every time.
True story.
I mean, really, you never know what you're walking into.
It's true. It's true. And
I mean, Glenn, the story you were telling about the with the monitor lizard in the in the bathroom or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I was doing a primary, and that we didn't know it was unlicensed rehab, animal rehab. And so I'm crawling around and open this door, and this lizard with this has a head of an alligator sticks us, and I'm like, "Oh, not today!
Oh,
You're not gonna make this one."
Oh man.
My captain went back in. He was a reptile lover. So PETA, please don't come at me. But
BobbyDizzle.com.
yeah, at BobbyDizzle.com. But yeah, so yeah, you never know. It's yeah, looking back, that's funny, but at the time I was like, the hell is this?
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Look back and laugh now, but at the time you probably need to change your bunker pants.
Yeah, I just imagine that dinosaur from Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Mhm.
So
No, see, and for me, I would have been like, all right, come on, over the shoulder. Come on, let's go. All right,
Oh,
we're getting
no.
out of here.
he was as scared as I was, I guess. We kind of both did that.
Well, that's what they say, right? They say like bears. Bears are more scared of you than you are of them.
Bull crap.
Yeah.
Bull crap.
Bigger. Hey, when I went camping up here the first time in the North Georgia mountains, they told me to take a whistle. I found out since then that that's not a very effective.
You got to coach the bear.
Yeah, blow the whistle. So I have like a rape whistle. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, get them to do push-ups or something instead of tear you apart. Yeah.
Like I needed to pick
Time
my
out.
camping buddies. So.
Yeah, because no one would get to you fast enough. And if they got there, the bear would just eat them too.
Yeah. Luckily, I never had to use it, but now I have bear spray. Yeah, well, you know, just can't
What
take a
the
swing
heck is a
away.
whistle gonna do for a freaking
Right?
bear?
It was supposed to scare him off. It's odd noises. I don't know. Hell, I believed him at the time. So here I got a
I'd
rape
just
whistle
carry an
around
air
my neck,
horn.
you know. That's probably more effective.
I would think
But-
so.
I do like the whistle idea. You ought to just wear a shirt when you go that says coach in the back. Or a zebra suit, one or the other.
Yeah, like I said, I think
3
I
laps.
needed to-
I'll be back.
we need camping buddies. I think that's
Give me 20.
exactly.
Yeah, see, we're in New Hampshire here. It's like the Texas of the North. So everyone up here carries guns. So when you go camping, everyone has like a 45.
Oh, yeah.
So they're more.
Yeah.
Their whistle is a 45.
I've learned now. Yes, so I've learned. It took me a while. I was a slow learner.
Oh boy. Yep.
Well, I guess I could say I was definitely a slow learner because one of the reasons I started the paranormal show was right before I got bit. I heard a voice in my head say, "Don't get bit."
Hmm.
And I was like, okay. I saw a bunch of chihuahuas yipping on the front porch. I'm like, yeah, I could punt those little suckers. And so, you know, like data clear, keep going. 2 more steps. This voice in my head screams, "Don't get bit." I'm like, what the hell? I'm now arguing with myself before I got bit. And so I was a slow learner. Either that or my guardian angel was slightly MR, one or the other. He should have said dog or something, but whatever.
Yep.
Well, so through your journey now, I know they say there's never a cure, but how do you feel?
I guess so. You compare it to how you used to feel, I guess. Right. So
Mhm.
before, it always felt so out of control. It always felt like there wasn't like an answer. Why do I feel like this? And I guess that's what I mean when I say that, you know, I still have quote unquote bad days. Right. And comparatively to the times when I would feel so out of control, or, you know, I'm having just night after night after night after night of bad dreams or nightmares or night terrors or whatever it is, or, you know, just constantly feeling like my head has to be on a swivel. I'm aware of it now. So the short answer is I feel a lot better. The longer answer, which is very in-depth, is abridged, is that because I have better and healthier coping skills, because I am more aware, and because I practice so much mindfulness, and I use meditation and I do different things. I'm aware of what is going on in my body and whatnot. These things, when they come up, whatever they are, not only have I worked on them, but I'm in more quote unquote control of them, and I have an answer as to why they're happening. So it's a better place to be in. And so yes, it's a lifelong journey. It's I think with trauma, until someone who, maybe a Vietnam veteran one day is like, I am totally cured and no longer have any symptoms whatsoever, and I live my days perfectly fine, which I don't think is ever going to happen. Until that happens, I'm prepared to live my life knowing that I'm going to have to do what I have to do every day to stay healthy, and whatever that is, whether it's the skills, the coping skills, the grounding skills, avoiding quote, and I hate the word triggering, it gets overused too much these days, but triggering situations or people. There's a lot of assholes out there, I guess, and so toxic people, will say. You have to do it. And that's sort of become what my journey is embracing the suck, so-called, right? And living a healthier life without avoiding life. Because, in the middle of all of it, all I was doing was avoiding life. I wasn't living it. And so now knowing your limits, having boundaries, and having healthy skills is how you need to live your life.
Yeah, the only way that we could possibly get rid of it or get cured is if we could be brainwashed and wipe away all of our memories.
Frontal lobotomies work, so I'm told. You drool a lot after, but I mean, there's a reason why they stop jamming rods up people's nostrils.
It doesn't make a compliant wife.
No.
I would imagine not.
Speaking from experience, Shut.
She's tried it.
Hey, I'm here, aren't I?
That's true.
I see a little drool right there.
Only
There it is.
occasionally.
If you had to give some advice for somebody going into the service, what would you tell them? I was the chief field training officer in my battalion, and I had a speech I give every shift before they'd send me one on the back of the box in the morning. I'd be like, "It's not too late. You can still run." But they kept sending them to me, so
They never learned.
No.
I guess the biggest piece of advice is just be honest with yourself. I mean, the stigma is kind of starting to lift, but unfortunately, the stigma on mental health, we've created sort of another one underneath it. Like the stigma itself is an umbrella, and underneath it, there's a whole bunch of other little stigmas that have popped up. And one of the biggest ones is that if you have PTSD, you have trauma, right? As a first responder, specifically as a first responder, it has to be from the job, right? That we have to be tough guys or girls. We have to. It has the only macho part about the PTSD that in accepting that it's here, right, is that it has to be the stuff from the job. Nothing else in your life can be why you're troubled. And that right there is a huge misnomer. And it's a lot of what I think why we're seeing so high of a number of suicides, because we're out there and we're doing our tailboard talks and our kitchen table talks, and we're talking with our partners, and we're like, oh, that job this, job that, dead baby this, burned up grandma this, row house fire this, whatever it is. And that may not be all the time why some of us end up so broken. And when I say my advice is to be honest, is when you start feeling shit, when you start seeing things, when you start hearing things, when you start whatever it is, be honest with yourself of what they are. It doesn't need to be because of XYZ from your job. You do 48 to 84 hours a week or whatever it is you do. Maybe it has nothing to do with it. Maybe the job is triggering things from your life. And for me, and I know several other advocates out there that this is true for, once I embraced that, that's when I made the most amount of healing. Sure, there's a lot of bad calls, but I've been on I don't know. I don't even know how many calls I've been on. Tens of thousands of calls over 21 years. And a lot of them stuck with me for a long time. But once I went to the foundation of my trauma, which for me is my childhood, and I started chipping away at that and rebuilding it, all the other stuff just fell in the line. And I made peace with like 99% of all the calls that were hanging on to me. And so you got to be honest with yourself when you do this job. When you start out and you start getting those skeletons in the closet, we all know that scene from Bringing Out the Dead where he's like helping the ghost come out of the sidewalk and all that crap. Yeah, when that starts happening, stop paying attention to the ghosts. They may not be patients. And that's
Preach.
yeah,
Preach.
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Yeah. And I remember sitting through one therapy session and we went through this whole list of things. And I was like, I don't know where that came from. I don't remember where did that come from? And she's like, no, keep talking. I was like,
Right.
no, I think I need a break now. But yeah. And I was like, but this has nothing to do with the job. And she goes, it has everything to do with the job.
That's why you probably came to the job. Right?
Probably. So that and we're adrenaline junkies. So,
But why are we adrenaline junkies?
I like Mountain Dew. I don't know.
I love Mountain Dew. Was it yellow number 6
Exactly.
or number 5 maybe? Somehow I still have 3 kids. I don't know. They say it lowers your sperm count. I don't
Number
know.
5.
Number 5. Thank you.
Yeah, that's my story. Actually, when I got into it, one of my mentors was like, "Everybody gets in this because you get to drive fast and cut off all the clothes, all the ladies."
Oh my
Drink
God.
Mountain Dew.
After 20 years of that, I'm like, I really didn't cut many clothes off ladies that
That you wanted to.
Yeah.
There's very few stripper calls. So, and the firemen always beat me there to them. So,
Yeah.
but
Imagine that.
That's always how it is. They give a certain address and they get there before the ambulance that one time.
yeah. Why is there 2 fire trucks and a battalion chief here? I don't understand.
6 cruisers and male guys there.
Yep. So, well, I'm about to ruin Cheyenne. I'm about to send her. She's going into the field here soon. So,
Oh boy. Congratulations.
Well, I told a friend of mine that I said, well, if anything, I'll get somebody on the phone and I'll just talk to them in my sexy voice and it will calm them down.
Yep.
Could save someone's life with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
I
ask them what
expect
they're
an
wearing.
award for that.
Just ask them what they're wearing.
I'll just say, well, other than that, what are you doing? What kind of TV shows do you like? Oh, no, it's fine. They're coming. It's fine. No, I want to hear about you.
Is your mom still breathing? That's nice. Yeah.
There you go, Cheyenne. Rock Solid is here for you. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
I call frequently just because I like to see the buff firefighters come out.
We do have a pretty awesome counter, don't we?
Oh no, this I know this is the 5th time my microwave has been on fire this week, but I just
So
can't.
sorry, guys.
I invited you to a firefighter page on Facebook. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't.
The Australian firefighters.
Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Down under.
I'll be back.
Oh, boy.
You'll
Do they
learn
all look like Jason Momoa?
after you've been on the job a while. There's a lot of us that don't look that way. So,
Yeah, I don't think any of us do. And
Maybe
if we
when we
did,
first started.
I was going to say, if we did, we don't anymore.
no.
And by the
Excuse
way,
me
Jason
while
Momoa,
I,
Jason Momoa doesn't look like Jason Momoa.
Right. It's all a filter. Like every time they show him, it has to be filtered.
oh, but he's still sexy as hell.
He's just got a deep voice. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for it, and the beard and the long hair.
I was going to say the beard. Yeah. That's what got it. So.
My husband used to have long hair, now he's bald. So
It happens. Don't judge.
Did you pull it all out, Amanda?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, he started going bald, so he shaved it. But he's just as sexy bald as he was with long hair.
Oh, that's
Like
sweet.
a little magic 8-ball.
Yeah.
If you rub it, you get the right answer. Is that?
If you shake it,
Yeah.
you can also hear the
Oh
thing
yeah,
go
like
clink,
that,
clink, clink, clink.
like that thing in the '90s there, the
Mm-hmm.
the answering ball, whatever it was called.
Mm-hmm. The magic 8-ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Keith, you've got to have more life to. You also do a podcast.
I was doing a podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a host of Yeah, I was the host and producer of a podcast called The Resilient Responder. It was part of a life coaching business for first responders. I did about 10. I ran about 10 episodes on that. I've been on a bunch of podcasts, but I keep getting told to start up my own podcast again. But I just haven't had time. It's, with the book coming out and everything and other projects, it's been kind of crazy. I did get to do a feature-length documentary the end of, well, it came out last year. It's actually the one over my left shoulder. So it's called First Responders in Crisis, and it's kind of a cool story. I went to high school in a pretty no-name town out here in the Podunks in Massachusetts. And one of the kids I went to school with, his dad was the football coach, and he ended up being, of course, the quarterback. And I had a rough time in high school. I got bullied a lot, and he was one of the few that didn't. And so, we all graduate, and years go by. And in the fall of 21, the peer support group I'm part of, me and one of the other moderators, we ended up knowing like 8 first responders that committed suicide in like a 6-week period of time. And we were like, we got to do something. I'm like, we got to do something more. And so I reached out to this guy that I knew from high school. His name's Scott Ruggles, and he's out in Hollywood. He ended up being a football coach at UCLA for a while. And then he started doing small roles in movies. And I was like, hey, I've been kind of writing a book. I do advocating, is there anything we can do? Can you do like an infomercial? And what started as like me thinking we do like a 30-second spot on, Fox News or something, ended up turning into a full-length movie. And they end up using my story as sort of the through line on it. And we end up interviewing 16 other people, first responders, spouses, veterans, and just sort of told the ugly truth. And it's a very raw and vivid videos. Talks about, everything from substance abuse to suicide attempts to, walking away from the job. And the cool thing is there is 3 spouses, my wife included, who are interviewed in it. So it gives that point of view that oftentimes gets overlooked, the families.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. It's fine and dandy that, now in 2024, there's, first responders talking about, yeah, I get sad sometimes. And yeah, the job affects me and I have other things that affect me on the job. But to have our families come out and be like, whatever it is, I think adds a different layer to it, because there's a lot of families, spouses in particular, who don't know what's going on. Why is my husband and wife acting like this? And this sort of helps give some of that. And so that was a really cool experience to be part of. I got no use for Hollywood. I don't think any of us normal
Anymore,
people do.
I don't think you anymore. I don't
No,
think
not
you want to
with
be in
everything.
that.
No, not with everything that's going on out there. I mean, it's crazy, but it was really cool to be part of this, and it was such a humbling experience. And one of the things that I think all of us involved in this project will take back was I think it was the 3rd night of filming. We all sat down. We were filming up at this old farm. So, New England, right? Old farm in New England, big rolling pastures and crap. And, we sit down in this old farmhouse, and there's, cast and crew, and there's like 20 of us with some of our family there. And we all sat down and had a meal. And it was just like in the firehouse. We all just sat down, and we were all family. And at that point, the producers and the director and, the audio and video guy had seen and heard so many things that a lot of these other men and women have never shared. And and it really did. It felt like family that night, and it was a really cool moment to be part of, and it brought a lot of us closer together.
That's great.
It was pretty awesome.
That's one thing about the job that you will look back on for the rest of your life is those dinners together, the meals together, making them, sitting at the table.
Yep.
You know, I kid and joke about the federal queue and stuff, but that's probably what I miss the most. And what I hear from a bunch of retired guys is, you know, 8 o'clock every night or whatever it was, and we'd sit out. So, yeah.
Well, you make a whole nother family.
It is. It's your second family. It's your home away from home. And it sometimes, for a lot of people, it ends up being their first home. You know, a lot of the young single, you know, men and women that get on the job now, some of them don't have that at home. And it is. I still occasionally go back to one of my old fire stations and just to have coffee. And it's that kitchen table. It's that sitting around, you know, ribbing each other, bussing on each other. And it's all typically done in good humor. But that's some of the hardest part of walking away from the job is losing that, if you actually lose it.
Yeah. Well, sad truth, they forget about you after you've been gone for like 6 months. So
they typically do. But
for my employer, I became a number and a liability. So they forgot about me even quicker.
I think that happens more often than you think.
I believe you're right. You're right. My first department that I moved to Atlanta for started picking up the ball. And they now have a peer support group. They reach out to all of us guys that are retired. I didn't retire. Well, I retired from them technically because I froze my pension and then I went to another department. But, you know, so they're like, come back, we get a peer support group. We go out for lunches, you know, like once a month, the people on the east side and the north side. And so, so they're starting to get the picture, but they've got a really progressive chief. So that makes a difference. And of course, you know, they had a line of duty death and then they've had some bad things happen along the way too. So,
right. That'll make changes happen. Yeah.
In some departments.
Yeah, not up here in the Northeast, man. I tell you, it's painful. The progression up here is just painful. It's like watching paint dry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my department that I left from, my sergeant, while I was out on injury, he developed a brain tumor and passed away like that, you know, and it was one of the cancers that we get as firefighters. The fire department actually fought in a lawsuit to not say it was a line of duty because they didn't want to have a line of duty death. And so now I scream it to the rafters. Sergeant Underwood with Union City Fire Department was a line of duty death. So I scream it from the rafters. If you're not going to acknowledge it, he gave his life for the job. But at any rate, so one of the things we like to talk about is spooky stuff.
Yeah.
So
tell us your spooky stories.
I warned you ahead of time. I didn't warn you about Shay. She bites, but you've got to have some.
It's just a nibble.
They all say that famous last words. Yeah, there's definitely some out there. So, you know, Northeast is pretty old, right? We got a lot of old buildings. That's and so there have definitely been times where there's been like, you know, I thought I heard something. But one of the cities I worked in was originally settled by Irish immigrants back in the day. And well, it's New England, right? Massachusetts, Irish everywhere. And the we always went, and I'm sure Glenn will get this. We always went to a lot of the same addresses multiple times, sometimes multiple times a day, especially on medicals. And it was there was one sort of apartment complex that was about a 200-year-old building, and this was early odds, so like 2003, 2004. So we're, you know, talking early 1800s when it was built. And whenever we went there, they had no, mind you, they didn't have elevators back in the 1800s, right? So it's a 5-story building,
just a crap ton of stairs.
a lot of stairs. All right, no one likes to carry fatty down the stairs. So the at one point in the 1900s, they put an elevator in, right? They cleared out a section of a stairwell and put it in. And for whatever reason, when we would hit, so you come in the lobby, which was the first floor, you'd hit, say we were going to the fourth floor. Most of the time we went to the fourth floor, and you'd hit 4, and the elevator would go up to 5 and stay there. Every time. Every time. And
so wait, if you hit 5, did it go to 4 then?
We never tried, because it always for those of us on the ambulance, we're always like, nope, we're done. Let's just walk. It's only like 300 steps. Let's just go up the stairs. We'll carry
only 300. It's fine.
But the other thing that happened out here, I don't know what you guys have down there in different states you're in, but in New England, specifically Massachusetts, there's a lot of old state hospitals, and a lot of really bad stuff happened in these state hospitals. Like the frontal lobotomy was, I say that earlier as like foreshadowing for this. It was actually perfected up here in I think Danvers State, which is outside of Boston.
So were these old hospitals that were previously like asylums?
Yes, asylums. Yes, they were asylums. They were for someone didn't behave right. Yes, rubber jackets, one flew over the cuckoo's nest, all that. So there was one in Worcester, which is a fairly big city outside of Boston, and the main floor you bring your psychiatric patients was like the second floor, and again there was an elevator involved. So it was not every time. It wasn't a consistent thing. We had to take the elevator. There was no stairs to get a stretchered patient up there. You had to take the elevator. And without fail, anytime I had to go there, we'd hit the button for like the second floor, and it would take us to the basement, and it would open. And you don't pay attention because the lights are saying 2, and the door opens, and there's a light on in front of you. So you go out into the hall and you look at this is the freaking basement, and you look down. The hall is dark all the way down in either direction, except for a light that is flickering.
Nope.
As
Turn
far
right
away
around.
as it was freaky. Ironically, I had a really before I was there back in the 80s, I think that particular hospital had a bad fire in the main building, and it had these underground tunnels that they used to move patients in, so they wouldn't have to go outside. Well, the fire traveled down a bunch of these tunnels to the outbuildings, and it scientifically, fire behavior wise, it wasn't meant to happen because there was no combustibles in there, but somehow the fire traveled down these tunnels and actually lit these other buildings. And so they've always said that the old Worcester State was very haunted. And there's tons of stories. You talk to anyone who's ever worked emergency services in Worcester County out here in Massachusetts, and they'll tell you a story about Worcester State. There's some creepy stuff that happened out there.
Add a place to my bucket list.
Right?
There's some cool stuff out here. There's actually, if you're into that kind of stuff, the old Danvers State is now condos in
oh gosh.
Yeah. And when they were building it, there's actually a movie made after it. It's like Section 18 or something like that. I forget what it's called. The guy from NYPD Blue is in it. The guy with the red hair, Dave Crusoe, whatever his name is. They made a story about it because it was they went insane. The workers that were charged with doing the asbestos removal in the hospital, they went completely insane. One of them almost tried to murder the other one. It was nuts. But anyway, then when they were building the condos, there was a massive fire there. They got an unexplainable fire while they were building condos on this old state hospital. There's a lot of creepy stuff at these places. It's because a lot of awful stuff happened when they were asylums.
Is it time sector 18?
No, it's it's a section.
You say that, and we interviewed Wayne Miller. He was an ATF fire marshal, and he was on the scene of the Worcester 6.
Worcester 6, yeah.
And he tells a story. The craziest thing he'd ever seen. They were removing the last firefighter, and they always put a flag in a gurney, or not a gurney, but a Stoke stretcher. And
so It's session 9, I believe,
Yes.
is what it is.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And the fire had been out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'd been tunneling and digging, and the fire had been out. And as they're bringing the last firefighter out, he said there was one beam that suddenly lit up like it was just fully, the top of it like a matchstick.
Mm-hmm.
He said as soon as they pulled the firefighter out, they were like, well, I guess we got to hit that. Went out.
There's a lot of spooky stories about that night. Some of the, I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures from one particular photographer, but there's a silhouette in the flames and it's indistinguishable as a firefighter. There's a bunch. There's one of a heart in the flames. There's some smoke, and it's like a face clearly in the smoke looking down at the building. Lots of weird stuff happened around that night.
Wow.
Sure. Yeah.
It was like when we went to Weston, that was the lunatic asylum for West Virginia. I kept begging them to take us out into there was a back building that was apparently like the most haunted. And I was like, come on, please just take me out the back building. I need to see what happened. And for the longest time, because there was almost like a gymnasium in there, they were still letting the local high school have their prom there. I'm like, what?
Scary.
Very much.
Like a scared straight kind of thing.
Don't go wandering around in the hallways because y'all know what happens.
Is that what they do in West Virginia?
We do some weird stuff.
I've heard. Apparently, here's another example.
Just for the record, if you ever watch The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, that is not everyone.
Duly noted.
That is Boone County. Boone County.
One specific place. So.
Well, the Boone County main calls when you just shake a bottle of pills outside.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
She's gonna fit right in. So
you'll do fine. You'll do fine.
So when you're on the job, did you run any crazy calls that were later you look back and go, how in the heck did that happen?
I mean, yeah, of course. I got lost at like a 1/4 acre brush fire once. I got lost in the center of it, and I don't know how that happened. I felt like an idiot after. It was literally like a 50 by 50 area and whatnot. But I was working overnight once. This is, I guess, more of a funny story. I guess it's crazy. But you all get tired, right? You work the overnights, you're doing a lot of calls, you get that zone, that
little
REM,
loopy.
Yeah, that REM sleep. And we got a call at like 2 a.m. It was like wintertime, so I was working a firehouse shift, and so the bunk room, we were in a station, an outstation that we had to share. So there was 2 of us in a bunk room, and so my partner was in the bed closest to the apparatus floor door. And then I was in the bunk behind him against the wall, and I had my bunker gear, and then I had like my zip up boots and whatnot, if it was medical or whatnot. And so I get on, I put my boot, tones go off, house lights go off. I get my boots on, I grab my radio belt, put on my job shirt, and I run out, get in the driver's seat. And we had a ALS intercept vehicle, and I get in the driver's seat, and my partner gets in the passenger seat, and he was a bit of a big guy. He had a big enough where he had to have a seatbelt extender, and he's putting on his seatbelt extender, and he leans and turns and looks at me and lets out a sigh. And he's like, when we get there, don't get out. And I'm like, I'm out of it. No, I'm just trying to remember where we're going. And I'm like, why? And he goes, we'll look down. I didn't have any pants on.
Oh my gosh.
I had no pants on. And we're out the bay. I'm pulling out the bay. I'm driving away from bunker pants and my duty pants. And luckily we're going mutual aid to the town next to us, and we ended up getting canceled. Yeah, I didn't live that down for a while. But you wonder how these things happen. And it's like you get complacent. You get like this muscle memory. And I swear to God, I remember pulling something up to my waist. I must not have, and left the firehouse with no pants on.
Oh yeah,
that's fantastic.
That's when they won't let you live down. I was chief's aide, and we're responding, and the chief drove. he didn't want me to drive. And I felt like a high schooler, but I got to play with the computer and tell him all the stuff and talk on the radio. And so he kept like, I was like, Chief, what the hell is wrong with you? He's like, I got this bad habit. Or he told me later, because I got this bad habit. I take my teeth out and I put them down in between my two boots. Yeah. He pulled his bunker pants on and something was clamping down on his boys.
Oh man.
He's like, I'm not tell anybody that story. He's long retired now, so
Bit his own boys.
I'd be like, I'm sorry, I make no promises.
I just want to say, what do they taste like, Chief? But no,
Scout's honor.
It never did. I was a probie at the time, so it never did. But yeah, it was one of the funniest ones I remember starting out when you said that. So
that's great.
Well, Keith, I don't want to keep you all night, but I want everybody to know before you go where they can find your stuff, and if they want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so the film First Responders in Crisis is on most apps. It's on like Amazon Prime, and it's free on Tubi. I also believe it's free right now on YouTube. The book Alan is out on Amazon, Walmart, and Barnes and Noble. You can also get it directly from me. Right now, I have a website. Unfortunately, right now the website is down. It's just simply keithhanks.com. Unfortunately, we're having some IT issues. It's been down for a few months. But it will be back up. That's where you can get most of my stuff. But I'm all over social media. I'm on, the Face Space. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and all that. And I run different groups. So the easiest thing is to reach out to me there, or you can email me at keithhanksmz78@gmail.
Okay, very good. And Greg was asking what was the name of the other podcast. I'm assuming the one that you did.
It's no longer up and running, but the one I ran before, I think you can still find the back episodes, is called The Resilient Responder.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Well, Keith, I appreciate your time.
Awesome.
It's been a great time. Hopefully you'll come back and see us.
Heck
especially when you get your next book out.
Yeah. I'll talk books. I'll talk ghosts. I'll talk, running around with no pants on, whatever it is.
We frequent that here, so
I have on my teeth, so it won't be anything about putting them in bunker pants and
Maybe we should
never
invite you
mind
to
then.
our Saturday show. So
you'd love Saturday.
I do have a few stories about chocolate syrup and bunker pants, though, so we can go there.
All right.
So Cheyenne, email him and see about getting him on a Saturday show.
There we have it. The chocolate syrup sold me.
There you go. All right, Keith, you have a great night. We will see you soon.
All right, guys. Be safe.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Keith.
Bye.
That was great.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what you're going to hear. I never expected chocolate syrup and bunker pants.
Oh, and rock solid can confirm.
Right.
Okay. I'm not sure. Our next guest is also an author. We're going to change things up a bit, and we're going to go science fiction. And her name is Mary, and she has been hiding backstage. I'm sorry I kept you.
It's all right.
How are you,
Hi.
Mary?
Doing okay?
So
You can hear me this time?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
So I read somewhere in, I think it was your Amazon bio, that you lived in a crashed spaceship or something like that.
Yes, I like to think of my house as a crashed spaceship in disguise.
It's fair.
I like it.
Makes life more fun.
Yeah.
So tell us
Agreed.
a little bit about yourself, and then I want to get into some of your books.
Okay. Well, I'm a writer. That's the main thing. I like to write science fiction and furry fiction, which basically just means that some or all of the characters are anthropomorphic animals. And I like to write about both of those things. So basically, talking animals on spaceships is my main topic. I've been writing
Sign me up.
pretty much. Right? We need more of it.
Yes.
So I've been writing pretty much my whole life. I got really serious about it after college, but even when I was a little kid, I'd write stories. My mom would write them down before I could even read. So this So the main thing about me is I like animals and I like stories about spaceships or robots. You know,
Nice.
anywhere in the sci-fi realm is pretty good. I also
Hmm.
like fantasy, but I tend to skew towards sci-fi.
It's fair.
Yeah, I was looking through, and you've got cats is one of your main, I guess, storylines. I guess would be the best way because there's multiple books.
I've most of my main characters are cats. I've just always really identified with cats and loved cats ever since I was a kid. And I had this cat named Peter who was an orange tabby, and he was smart and mischievous and interesting. And that's when I started, writing stories about animals. Is I would write stories about the cats I had when I was a kid. And I've just kept doing that as an adult, but I've gotten better at it. So that now, instead of being the kind of little story that, is really just fun for you and maybe your parents, I can write books that actually appeal to readers. But fundamentally, deep down, they're still mostly about my pets and, say, random dogs I meet at a dog park, or, you see a lot of animals that I've run into in real life show up in my books. But then there's also
I
a lot of
love that.
otters. Basically,
You
I
give
don't
them
get
their
to
own
actually-
personality and
That's what's
how they
fun
come
with
across
animals.
to you. And
Yeah, you've got so many sort of starter personalities.
Mhm.
Like, we have ideas about what rabbits are like, what dogs are like.
very, very funny enough, I had
Yeah.
started my own comic on my rabbit. Well, I had I have two stories. One is Space Buns. So she is an a-hole rabbit who goes to space. And then one that I think I either decided to I think I named it Third Wheel, of like me and my best friend being roommates, but we have this third roommate who's just a total asshole.
Mhm.
And it's my rabbit, because she's always chewing on everything and always eating everything. And she'll just come out and plop on the couch right between us. And she's just like, so when are you guys getting something to eat? So I feel that.
Yeah, you get a lot of personality in your house if you have pets. I've got right now we just recently got a new kitten, so we're up to 4 cats and 3 dogs, and it is a lot. Like, there's a kitten to that side, our older cat right up there, and middle cat.
Oh,
You
kitty
can
back
see
there.
her. She's all curled up.
Yeah.
She is the queen of the cats in the house. Although she is somewhat threatened by the new kitten, he doesn't care about hierarchy. He thinks that she's the most
Not
interesting
yet.
mama cat, and she will be his mama, and she has no say in that. Because she can't actually kill him. He's too big and too fast. And she's having to adapt.
Yeah, see, she heard that. She wasn't pleased about it. She's like, no, I'm not.
I didn't even say her name.
Oh, that's great.
And my cat is a Hemingway, and he has his own personality. They're very I don't know,
Opinionated.
Opinionated. They have big personalities, and I call him Squatch because when he gets mad, of course he's obviously got the big foot, but he'll go stomping through the house, and you can hear him like a dog. It's the craziest thing. I mean, you can literally hear the dogs make less noise than he does when he's mad.
He wants you to know he's displeased.
Oh, yes. And it was funny. We interviewed an animal psychiatrist, and she could talk to the animals, and she just needed a picture and where we were and stuff. So I sent her a picture of my dog and my cat. We have 2 dogs. My wife has a dog, and I have a dog. I guess they're both ours, but the cat, he doesn't own. He owns us,
Right.
but. So he said, she told me, she says, she said, I've talked to a lot of animals. She goes, but your cat was weird. What do you mean?
Well, yeah, he's mine.
She goes, he thought he was a dog. I had to tell him he wasn't a dog.
Oh my God.
Don't hurt his feelings.
I was like, all right, you are actually legit. Because I went into the show being like, yeah, right. They talk to animals, Dr. Doolittle. As soon as she said that, I was like, all right, sold.
Okay.
That's pretty much the kind of thing I write. Like a lot of the main characters I write are cats, but like there's one that's kind of a graduating from high school, heading off to college romance, and the main character, who's a cat, has a crush on a dog, and she wants to hang out with the dogs. And her family doesn't get it. Like, dogs are annoying. They're loud. They're like always throwing balls and running into people and causing trouble. It's an anthropomorphic world, so like in an anthropomorphic way. But I remember being in high school, and there'd be the kids who'd just be like out front throwing balls or frisbees back and forth, and they'd run into you without noticing
them.
So those are what the dogs are like in that world. Although it's not all the dogs, because there's variation. Like the dogs I have right now, I've got 2 Shelties and a Bernese Mountain Dog, and
Ooh.
oh yeah, she's beautiful, big gentle giant,
Mhm.
so sweet. But she's a doggy dog, real dog. Shelties are kind of like cat-like dogs. They have ideas about how things should be, and they should be orderly, and they're just they're more careful.
That's how our last dog was that we used to have before she passed away. Me and like Sheba would be playing with each other, and I'd grab her nose and she'd start like fleeing my arm, and Shayna would come up and get in the middle and like put her paw on Sheba's face, like, no, quit. Y'all are messing around. Or even I'd be sitting on the floor messing with her, and she came over and just sits in front of me and is looking me square in the eyes and is just like, quit. You're antagonizing her, quit.
Yeah, I love that tension between cats and dogs. My main book series is called Otters in Space, and like the original kernel idea for it, other than the otters in space, which I'd been trying to figure out, how do I write a reasonable book that people would read about this for like
the title, Otters in Space.
My mom says I came up with that title when I was like 10. I just know it was a long time ago. Like, people in college knew that, and I thought it was a joke, that I was joking. Someday I'm going to write a book called Otters in Space. But sometimes you tell jokes like that because you know that you really want to, and eventually you follow through. And when I finally figured out how to do it, it was watching the first dog we got was a Sheltie. I didn't have a dog as a kid, but I married a dog person. So we got a Sheltie. And watching this dog, Patrick, try to organize our 2 cats. And, our Calico and a little Bengal kitten always getting up high on shelves. And they were on the counter, and it was unruly. It was wrong. They should get their paws on the floor. That's where paws go. And he gets so worked up barking at them, trying to herd them like they were sheep, which, does not work on cats classically. And I got this idea of like a politician who's a Sheltie, who's trying to get a law passed that says that cats don't get to go into space. And that was like the seed where finally I was like, this is going to work. I can do this. And so the main character in the first book is actually a cat, which tends to confuse people because the series is called Otters in Space, and it has plenty of otters, and they spend lots of time in space. But the main character is a cat, and she's trying to get away from all the oppression from dogs on Earth and heads off to space before it gets outlawed, although it's tricky for her, and falls in with a band of space otter pirates, because I think that's really what I feel like deep inside. Like, I'm a cat, but I wish I were an otter.
I feel that.
One of the most fun experiences I've ever had with a fan was a reader coming up to me at a convention and saying, "Oh, I love your books. I'm also a cat who wishes I was an otter." It was at a furry convention, so everybody has the animal they identify with, and it's so funny to not only feel like you're a cat who wishes you were an otter, because I could just say I'm an otter, because I'm neither. I'm a human. But no, I'm a cat who wishes she was an otter, and I found another person who feels the same way.
You are not alone.
Well, that's kind of why you write the books, right? So you can find
your people.
Yeah.
Find your people.
Yeah.
I love that.
You've published
did
how
you-
many now? Sorry, Amanda.
Oh, I've started losing track. I think I've got something like 20 books. It gets
Oh.
weird trying to count because I've got 4 Otters in Space books and a trilogy about a squirrel that's a fantasy series, and a trilogy where the main character is human, but like all the other characters around her are basically animal-like aliens. So that's what, 3, 2. It's like I said, you start to lose count.
There's a lot.
But then I've got like a spin-off book from Otters in Space where I wrote it with a friend. So like he wrote the first half, I wrote the second half, and it's about a bloodhound detective. So it's like, how do you count that? I wrote half of it. Or like collections of short stories, because I know you reached out to me originally because of The Necromouser, which is my best-selling book, which is just this little collection of short stories. I'd written a couple short stories about a cat named Shreddy. It was kind of my take on Bunnicula, because Bunnicula, the book series for kids. I read it when I was young, and it's this rabbit, and the family gets a rabbit, and the cat that they have is very paranoid and is convinced that this rabbit is a vampire because it has like little V on the head. Yes, and so it mostly focuses on the paranoid cat and the dog who tries to keep the cat under control and is a much calmer, steadier presence. And I loved those books so much. And so when I was, starting writing seriously, one of the earlier short stories I wrote was inspired by that calico cat I mentioned a bit ago. She wouldn't let me have houseplants because she wanted to eat them. So we got in this kind of little war where I would try to protect the houseplants, and we had this bay window, and I rigged up a thing with chicken wire to like cover it so she couldn't get through, and she'd like reach her paws through the little holes and try to grab the plants. And she liked to chew on cords, like the printer cord. She would sleep on top of the printer and it would get angry because printers are prone to getting angry anyway. So I started writing about this cat named Shreddy who uses his owner's electronics in most of the stories to do something sort of paranormal. Like in the first story, he uses the printer to raise mice from the dead and mind control them. Thus the name The Necromouser. So I had a couple of those stories, and I realized I could turn this into a book with my other short stories about cats if I just had a couple more. So it's like half stories about Shreddy and half stories about other magical cats. It's just short stories, but people like short stories.
Very cool.
What were you going to say? I'll cut you off.
Oh, I was going to ask, did you have a life experience or something that you witnessed or went through that made you interested in sci-fi?
Well, I mean, I grew up watching Star Trek, although I actually remember Star Wars from when I was even younger than encountering Star Trek. Mm-hmm. So I just always gravitated towards it. Star Trek is a really big part of that. I was watching The Next Generation when it was on the air, and then when Voyager and Deep Space Nine started, those were just my absolute favorite things. I actually have a book series that's kind of what I'm working on mostly right now, although I always have a couple projects going. It's called Trigalactic Trek, and basically imagine Star Trek except with mostly cats and dogs and other animals. Is actually in my Otters in Space series. It started, there were references to the characters watching a show called Trigalactic Trek. And then I thought, well, it'd be fun to actually write that directly. Mm-hmm. So you've got a Sphinx cat captain named Captain Pierre Jacques, and a collie commander named Commander Bill Wilker. the names all kind of move in this direction. Like they're all very eerily like, wait, that's not
Right.
at all from Star Trek, but wait,
Yeah.
It's just close enough.
it's just close
Yeah.
enough. But then I take it to its own places because I do take the animal characters and their world building very seriously. Which, I mean, it's an odd thing to take seriously, but it's what I love, so I do. Anyway,
That's what it's about.
Trigalactic Trek is like an episodic novel, so very similar to Next Generation. And then Deep Space Nine has always been my favorite. So I wrote Nexus 9 and Jadzia Dax in Deep Space Nine. She was everything I wanted to be when I was a kid. And seeing her on that show, just brilliant and so self-possessed and just it's perfect. So when I realized, wait, I can write about these characters and make it my own. Because like I'd always sort of thought, gosh, it'd be great to write for Star Trek. Like when I was a teenager, I had my mom agree that if I can write a script and sell it to Voyager, because that's the one that was running right then, that she would move down to LA with me and I could write for Star Trek. I did not manage to figure out how to write a script at that age, but like my mom's very supportive.
It was a good goal.
It was very kind of her to agree that yes, we'll move to LA if you sell a script to Voyager. But so right, Jadzia Dax. I made my main character like her in that. So she's a Trill, which means she has a symbiont who has all these lifetimes of previous memories from being in other hosts. And when she first shows up in Deep Space Nine, the captain calls her old man because he used to be her friend as an old man. And throughout the series, she keeps encountering that. And so this character in Nexus 9 is a cat, but she has a computer chip in her head with lifetimes of old memories. And the last character who had it was a dog. So the captain calls her Big Dog, even though she's a little cat. And it lets me take the thing I love and play with it and take it new places, because it's not on the air anymore. It's not going anywhere. There are new Star Treks, but it's not the same.
No, it never is.
Yeah.
That's how I am with Doctor Who. Like, yeah. And once it reached like Peter Capaldi, like I haven't watched it ever since.
I struggled with Capaldi. He was so grumpy and sort of mean.
I think I enjoyed
Whittaker
episodes
a lot, although I didn't think the writing was as good for her era. The new Doctor, Gatwa, he seems great. So you might want to come back. Obviously, I'm also a Doctor Who fan.
I figured.
I've even done my own treatment of that. It's called Tortoise Who. There's a time tortoise.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
His shell is both bigger and smaller than it seems.
Okay. I'm getting ready to get a big weeping angel tattoo on my calf.
That's fun.
It's kind of tied in with like the whole cemetery vibe of my leg sleeve. But so I sneak little things in, like I have an owl for Labyrinth, but no one knows that that's what it's for because it's tied into this one giant leg tattoo.
Okay. Labyrinth is good too.
We love the Goblin King.
Oh yeah.
I was more of a Dark Crystal fan as a kid.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be.
I was too. My brother showed it to me, and I was like,
"Yeah."
And this is the best thing ever.
The Netflix miniseries was beautiful. Getting to go back to that place. I think part of what I love about that is it's such a completely immersive world. Like Labyrinth is good, but it breaks it a little bit for me that it has humans in it. There are humans sometimes in my fiction, but I really love when you can go into this completely other world. And that's Dark Crystal. 'Cause it's just all puppets, the whole thing.
Thank you, Jim Henson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about how nice it would be if we hadn't lost him so young a lot.
What would we have today?
Right? Because he was
Yeah.
so innovative.
Mhm.
He'd have been inventing new ways of doing things.
I'm sure, yeah. When you start your book, do you have a beginning and an end, or do you just kind of start and let your characters lead you through it?
So that's evolved over time. I'm much, much better at outlining and matching an outline now than I used to be, which is it's a really fantastic, useful skill that I highly recommend, and it took me much longer to develop than, like writing whole books. I'd written books before I figured out how to outline books. When I first started, it was really more like I had a sense of the feeling I wanted it to land on, maybe some of the specifics, but getting there was definitely a challenging journey because I would, maybe know some landmarks and that would be about it. I didn't know how to get from where I started to where I ended. It was very intuitive, which I think is a wonderful thing about writing when you can do that, but it's less wonderful when you get stuck. And by Otters in Space 3, I'd managed to create a complicated enough story and world that it took me a really long time to write that book, working through it intuitively. And so after that, I started working much more on, can I come up with plans ahead of time? Can I figure out how to have a roadmap so I won't get lost? Sometimes they look actually a lot like roadmaps. For a while, I actually would outline my books with tarot cards. I'd have each character or world or place or event, I'd pick a card that had a picture on it that felt like it kind of matched. And then I could spread them out in front of me and just try to take in the story as a whole. I've also had good luck with buying little plastic toys. Got a little xenomorph here. Got a lot of toys around my desk. Yeah. Because another series I'm working on right now is a trilogy that's kind of my version of Aliens. I hated Alien 3. It was...
you have your xenomorph, I have my...
very nice.
I have Spider-Man here somewhere. No, wait a minute. Hold on. I have Optimus Prime. So there you go.
Right. So I'm writing this horror trilogy, and I wanted to fix how horrible Alien 3 was, how they betrayed the character of Ripley by... this is spoilers, but also these movies have been out forever, by killing Newt right at the beginning of Alien 3. It was not respectful to how Aliens had gone, the second movie. And so I put a lot of thought into what would have been a better way for that to go? And how could I write that as a completely separate, my own thing with my own aliens that work differently? So they actually, part of the life cycle of the scary aliens in my series is they can turn into ghosts for part of the life cycle.
Oh, cool.
So there's a whole haunted aspect to the books.
Very cool.
And another way I've had a lot of luck with outlining is with playlists. If you can find songs that line up with the characters or the sort of key points and string them together, and then you turn it on, start writing, and I'll tune it out, but it trains me to be in the right mind space every time I turn that playlist on. And I've even had it sometimes remind me, when I was writing my Entangled Universe trilogy, which is the longest thing I've written, because it was for a publisher that wanted all the books to be over 80,000 words.
Whoa.
Most of my books are more like 50,000 words. So these were long, complicated stories to hold in my mind as I was working through them. And I put together outlines at the beginning, and then, you write steadily for many, many months, and you get near the end, and it's easy to forget things. But like, there were songs on the playlist that would jog my memory, like, oh, right, I need to fit this in before I finish the book, because that's an important scene.
Oh, goodness.
Did you growing up, did you do anything with comic books by any chance?
Not as much of a comic book person.
Okay.
I really like processing words. And like, I mean, comic books have words, but they generally expect you to be processing the pictures as language in a way that just, I can do it. I've just never liked it as much. When I was a kid, reading was almost like breathing. You always had a book with you, like just always everywhere. My parents would be reading, so I would be reading, and it's just something I got used to doing so constantly that comic books weren't something I read as much as a kid. They are what my 11-year-old prefers, so I've been trying to connect with them. Trying to find good graphic novels that they'll enjoy, that we can both like.
There's a ton of them out there now.
Yeah, sometimes.
I was going to say, there's a ton of them out there now. There's
go
ahead, Amanda.
Sometimes it's very hard to be interested in the same things your children are interested in.
It can be challenging. Yeah. I did do a webcomic for a while. It's called Space Hounds. You can still find it. I think spacehounds.com still works. And I made duct tape spacesuits for my dogs and decorated a big piece of cardboard to look sort of like a spaceship. And I would take photographs of them in their spaceship. And then I would go through the photographs and see if there was anything usable and try to put together stories about them traveling through space.
Love it.
So cool.
It was pretty fun. It was very time consuming though, because the set took like a lot of space to keep the cardboard and put it up and take it back down and get the dogs in their suits and get them to cooperate.
So hard to get in character.
Come on, you guys are going to be famous. Come on.
Lots of treats, I'm sure.
Well, so it was mostly my two dogs, who I do not have anymore because this was a while ago, Trudy and Quinn. And Trudy was a very doggy dog, part spaniel, part lab. And she had no clue what was going on, but she loved the attention. And Quinn was a Sheltie. I am addicted to that breed. And we got him, he was an older puppy when we got him because the breeder had wanted to keep him as a show dog, but he got too big. He was a big enough Sheltie people would ask if he was a collie.
Wow.
And it seemed like he had somewhere deep in his head this idea that I am supposed to be beautiful and put on display. And yes, it is completely appropriate that you are taking pictures of me. I will be your model. This is what I was bred for, to be a show dog. Like he knew, he got it. And the characters that you end up finding from what what expressions you get from the dogs was just a delight, because it was like they were my coworkers. I couldn't make them do exactly what I had in mind, so I had to work with what they gave me. And so Trudy's character, TJ Barker, the captain of the ship, was always a little like nervous and like, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. And Quinley Wooferson was the science officer, and he was inventive and thoughtful, and just like there was acting going on with that dog. He was my heart. He died the first year of the pandemic, and it was just very, very hard for the whole family.
Well, he knew he was bred for greatness.
He was.
Yeah.
The best friend of the main character in my Entangled Universe series is based on him. And he that character gets sick in the third book. And I was trying to write these books very fast for a deadline. And the character gets sick, and right as I was approaching the end of the book, he got sick. And it was brutal. I was like, but you live in the book. And I finished writing it and he lives, but like that day right after I finished it, it was almost like he'd been hanging on, because I don't know how I would have kept writing that character right after he died. It was just so brutal, but he hung on until just like the day after I finished the book.
Wow.
He knew.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say they have a way of knowing things,
They
Yeah,
do.
definitely.
and they have a way of telling you whether you listen or not, if what they're wanting and thinking and feeling. And
Yeah.
my dog stays pissed off at me, so she's like, I'm supposed to be. She's part border collie, and she's like, I'm supposed to be outside doing something, and you're always in an office. What's wrong with you?
Oh,
Get
yeah.
out of there.
The current Sheltie, well, I have two, but one of them is very much on the sort of border collie edge of Sheltie. She's not here to be a model. She is here to organize us. She is the assistant manager. She knows she's not in charge. She thinks my husband's in charge, which is interesting. But, sure, there's a human in charge, but he should be working. We should all be working. Everybody should be getting their work done. Work is
Why
what's
is nobody
fun.
getting their
We
work
need to
done?
focus. And she gets very frustrated, yes, if we just sit around and don't do anything. Or
Is she also
to her.
Is she also a volunteer sheriff's deputy on the weekends?
She would love to be. She got very excited once when we were dropping off our younger kid at soccer practice, and the coach wasn't there yet, and it was just like, I'm gonna run around and herd the kids. No, you're not the coach.
Oh, you can get them started on their laps.
She would love to be a soccer coach.
That's wild.
We introduced my grandchild to the house, and that she just is not. That's not. You can't. What is that little person doing here?
How old is the grandchild?
Well, I mean, he came in as a newborn. So Paige was pregnant, and then she'd come home one day, and she's like, "Who's that? What are you doing here?" She since tried to make friends with him, but now he's 3 and he likes to pull her hair and stuff. So she
that's a
runs
tough
away.
age for.
She's like, "Oh, get rid of it."
Yeah, it was funny. The animal psychic told me that she goes, there's a new person in your house or a new something, and she does not like it. And she is bored. You keep her pinned up too much. I'm like, oh, well, we kind of have to because of the baby. But it's like, so.
When we brought our first kid home as a baby, we had that first Sheltie, Patrick, and he loved the new baby. It was just like, finally, a proper job for me. I will guard this child forever. I mean, he only lasted 3 more months, but like, he was like the guardian angel for the baby. He was so sweet about it. I think the other dog, Trudy, was a little less thrilled. He was the baby. She deserves the attention.
Yes. That's how my
I have a cat like that. I'm the baby. I will always be the baby. When I tell you to pick me up, you pick me up and you give me treats. You have to carry me in there. I will not walk.
Well, that's why Piper behind me is, or the other shoulder back there, is so mad that we brought home a kitten. She's like, but I'm the kitten. I'm also a fierce leopard, but I'm a baby kitten. It's, the 2 sides of herself, both of which say there should not be a kitten that's not her.
Cute.
They agree on that.
And I can't even get Squatch to come to me when I want him. So he's like, nah, I want nothing to do with you. But he runs the house. He keeps the dogs in check. I got an 80-pound pit bull that cowers to him. I'm like, that dog could take you out with one bite. I'd stop doing that if I was you.
Yeah.
Didn't stop.
Personality size and physical size don't necessarily match up in animals.
No.
The Sheltie that likes to run things, she is definitely the alpha of our 3 dogs. And the Bernese mountain dog is way bigger. But it's just like, oh yes, I'll follow Avery. Whatever Avery says is fine. Avery's in charge.
Oh, I can also sit on your lap, which is far too small. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, she also does believe that, yes. Fortunately,
no, it's fine.
It's
fine. I'll make space.
It's kind of pleasant being squished by a Bernese mountain dog. Like,
this is an acceptable
nice.
death.
Yeah.
I've accepted my fate. This is fine.
Yeah, Squatch will come under her legs, get between her and the food bowl, and start eating the dog food. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Trying to become a dog.
And she just lets him.
That's how you be a dog, right? The dogs eat that food, and they're dogs, so logically.
Well, that's
but
like
won't touch table scrap.
That's like with
scrap is below him. I don't understand.
With Buns being raised with the dog, she acts more like a dog than a rabbit. So she's like, oh, they lay around all day. Okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'll lay here on the couch. That's fine.
That's fun.
I was cleaning her cage or her enclosure the other day, and she could have hopped around the house, done whatever. But the gate that I have around it, I had tilted up. She sits on the bottom of the gate and just stares at me while I'm cleaning. She's just like, just making sure you're not screwing anything up in here. I got myself comfortable, so just
supervisor.
Carry on.
Yeah.
And I lay everything back down. She hops right in there. She's like, okay, where's my food?
Well, that's right. We're just support staff. The animals are in charge.
Yep, very much so.
Yes, they run the
It's
house.
actually amazing how quiet my animals are being for us right now. It's like you said, I've got 3 of the 4 cats right here, and the 4th one's she's in here too. There are 4 cats, but they're all sleeping instead of rampaging. They like to use my desk, which I'm at, as a highway, and they'll just run right across.
Oh my gosh.
Right over my keyboard, and so I would not have been surprised if that had been happening for this.
would have been perfectly acceptable.
Very
Except
good.
all the animals.
Well, I mean, I could bring you over a kitten if you'd like to meet one. Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Oh, look at the baby! Look at the baby!
He is named for Dr. Bashir from Deep Space Nine.
Oh, look at him!
He's very sleepy right now.
Oh, look at baby!
So we might get to just keep him
until he gets really woke up, and he's gonna be like, no.
He's like, no, this is fine.
Just gonna sleep here.
Yep.
That's how Banda is. Should you just carry her like that, and she's just like, all right.
I'm good.
My cat, you pick him up and he makes a death moan. So, what are you doing to me? So, you're not supposed to pick me up, human.
Yeah.
Petey's about 90 pounds, so I have to take his legs and like get the front legs off the couch and then try to slide him off.
Just to get your spot back?
Yes, or he won't go to bed. He's like, I'm good right here on the couch. I don't need to sleep in there with you all. But where we have Boo, the puppy, we have to close the bedroom door, and we don't like to just leave him out, by himself. He needs to be in there with us. He's like, I want no part of this puppy. You're good. Just go on. Leave me here on the couch.
Then 3-4 o'clock in the morning, it's just hey,
yes,
let me in.
And I don't want them scratching my door.
I've had to shut the cats out of my bedroom, like, for the rest of the lifespan of the one that's over in that corner, because her name's Hazel, and she loves my plushies, and I need a place to put them where she can't destroy them. So that's become the bedroom. Like, this is where plushies are safe.
They
And
will
it's
not be chewed to
specifically
bits.
mine. Like, the kids also have plushies, but she can tell somehow which are mine. And she actually even prefers the otters. It's kind of hilarious. It's like I summoned her from writing things. Because her personality is more like Shreddy from the Necromouser than the cat who I based Shreddy on. And she has a thing for otter plushies and wants to destroy them if they're mine.
It's the
That's a
smell.
cat for
They
you.
smell like you. Those smell like your kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Squatch went through this phase where he was peeing on only my daughter's stuff, and we couldn't figure it out. So we thought maybe he's got a kidney problem or something. Whatever. We took him to the vet. Spent like $500 on tests, and the vet says, "I think your daughter makes your cat nervous and anxious." What? So I give her the most grief over that. But we found out what it was is while Paige was going through her pregnancy, a relative stayed with us. She gave him canned cat food. And when she left, we were like, whatever. And he's like, oh, no. I didn't get to this size by eating just kibble. And he was like, he only did it to Paige. And so we figured it out was because she was the one that's usually first up in the morning with the baby, feeding him. And finally it clicked. It was like, I bet that's it. So we started giving him wet cat food, once a day. And he stopped peeing on things. So
He was mad.
he was very mad.
That was like I bought the cats like some Walmart brand wet cat food. And then because Daddy is very, very, very mouthy. Like you pet him, he's just all mouth. And so when Travis was trying to feed them the Walmart brand cat food, Tabby started getting very mouthy. He would come hop up on the bar and meow right in Travis's ear and be like, no, this isn't Friskies. This isn't Fancy Feast. What is this? Because it's garbage. I can't eat this.
Man.
So then I went and bought him the Friskies and their Fancy Feast, and he was just like, oh God, I haven't eaten in 3 days. You little spoiled shit.
Why, when we brought the new kitten Julian home, we had someone scout ahead. It's like, where's Piper in the house? Because the other cats, they'll be fine. The dogs, they'll be fine. But Piper's gonna be mad that there's a kitten, and she is mad. She's getting over it. But we made sure to sneak him in upstairs when she wasn't gonna see it happening, so that she'd think he just spawned in the house. Like, it's not our fault. We didn't bring him. Like, we don't know how he got
showed
here.
up.
Just, kittens just happen sometimes. Who knows? We didn't carefully go meet kittens and find the one that was most likely to not, be terrified of you. Because we specifically were like, okay, we need a kitten that's super chill and easygoing and will be able to hold his own with Piper, and because she's gonna be mad.
Oh my God.
And it's worked out, but she was really confused. Like, where did this come from? Why is it here? Why can't any of us kill it? Clearly, we're all trying to kill it, aren't we? We're just all incompetent. I'll have to do it.
That was kind of how Squirt was whenever, because I got Squirt from my old job. They were like, here, we found this kitten. You're taking it home. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. She's pretty darn cute. And she would come up to the little window and she'd greet people, just lay on her back and want them to pet her. And she slept in my chair that day. And then when Mama came along, Squirt was like, not sure about that one, but I know I could kick her ass because she's skinny enough, so I'll leave her be. And then when Mama brought all the kittens, she's like, where do they keep coming from? Why are you letting them in the house? And
You're always
then
supposed to bring me home.
and then Daddy shows up and she's like, you guys are out of control. But then she's like, oh, I can play rough with these and they'll play with me back. Okay, we're fine. Because she's so fat. She used to like to get into like the 12-pack can case, and I would play with her. I would tap on so now as long as her head is in there, not the rest of her body, I can't see her, obviously. So she's got her fat butt hanging around, but as long as her head is in there, I can't see the rest of her. So
we actually got Piper in the first place because the breeder we got our other Bengal cat Hazel from knew that we'd been good to Hazel and contacted us. Was like, I have this cat that I love, but she needs a new home because she was a breeder. There were always kittens.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not happy here. She needs a new home. And it's like, yeah, Piper hates kittens, doesn't she? That's why she's here, so that she's not dealing with new batches of kittens all the time.
Was she still a kitten at the time, or?
She was at least a year. I think maybe a year and a half old when we got her. So she was older
like all
than
these
Hazel.
new things. Ew.
So we got the kitten, and then a couple months later, got contacted like, I'm looking for a new home for this cat who doesn't like the kittens. And now, she's in a whole house, and she does share it with, now 3 other cats, one of whom's a kitten, but it's a whole house. This breeder was living in a much smaller place. And just
she didn't have somewhere to escape from all the kittens.
Yeah. Here, Piper can go to a different room. She can go to a different floor from the kitten if she wants.
As long as it's not trailing behind somehow.
Well, that is the problem, is that he's decided she's the most interesting of the elder cats. And she is. She's more playful. So he's decided that she's the best mama.
She's like, ew, ew, ew.
Yeah. She does get some advantages in return, though, because there's been a lot more feather wand play since we got him. So it hasn't been all bad for her.
She's like, I'll take some of it, but
couldn't we do it without the kitten? No, sorry, Piper.
All right, I'll play here, but get rid of that thing. But ew. Cats are great.
We used to have a doggy door, and this cat kept coming in. It was a calico cat, and my neighbor had a calico cat, and the calico cat would come in the doggy door, and it would eat the food and want to stay here. And I'm like, no, you don't live here. And me and the neighbor, I was like, yeah, do something to your cat. It keeps coming to the doggy door. Stop. And
pay your child support already.
To the point where it was contentious. Well, I will be honest. We had a moment where they were deeply religious people, and I was like, I have told them, I've tried everything. So here I'm on Google. I need a Bible verse for animals. So I go over there and I'm laying the law down, and I'm like, all right, I got it this time. Done. Cat comes in, has kittens on my couch. I lose my shit. I literally lose my shit. And she goes, well, I know it can't be my cat. My cat's been fixed. I'm like, what? There's some ghetto cat in the neighborhood. I'm like, what?
Oh, gosh.
You have a cat now.
Sometimes a cat like you.
Yeah.
That's how it was with Mama. She showed up, and poor thing was so skinny. Her face was so thin, and now whenever she walks, it's just like where she's so fat, she looks like she's pregnant. I'm like, no, she's not about to have a litter. She's just fat.
Yeah, my mom had a tuxedo cat that roams the neighborhood move into her house a couple years back when it was really cold in the winter. And he, just was like, I'm your cat now for a couple of years. And then she keeps her cats indoor only. He just dashed out of the door one day in a way that he never gave any warning for. It was like, he was done. He wants to go back to living outside now.
Oh my gosh. Part of the good life.
That's how it is with Daddy. He'll go roam the streets all day, and then he knows he can be mouthy at the door, and he comes in at night to get fed, and then he's like, all right, let me back out.
Well, Mary, one of the questions we always ask our guests is, do you have any spooky stories or any paranormal stories?
Well, I've certainly written some. In terms of life, mostly not so much, but I did a couple months back this summer, actually. My older kid is really into horror, and he had to write a report for something for mythology class about like local mythology, and he found this place, Hot Lake Hotel, that was supposed to be haunted. And so he wrote his report on it, and then we thought, well, it'd be fun to go check it out. So as sort of like a late birthday present for him, we booked some rooms there and went and spent like 2 nights checking out it was like a 6-hour drive away. It was a pretty long drive, but relatively close. So local haunted hotel, and it's this really neat place. It's like very old-timey hotel. You can definitely see how it gets ghost stories about it, and it's had this long history of having been like an orphanage and a sanatorium and like all the things that a haunted building would have been. And it's by a hot springs, so the lake next to it has all these signs around it saying, stay out of the lake if you want to stay alive, because it's like that hot. And they've got little hot tubs set up next to it with the lake water piped in, so it's like water fresh from the lake. And so we went there and hung out in those hot tubs like in the middle of the night, because it was pretty late by the time we got there, but they let you use them all night long if you're staying there. So at like 2 a.m. we're hanging out in these hot tubs watching the mist rising off of this burning hot lake, and there were bats flying by, and it was just like the most beautifully haunted feeling setting. And what we did is we wrote ghost stories. We spent the weekend writing ghost stories, and
that's awesome.
It was really fun. So it was a very inspiring place for writing about ghosts.
Cool.
Very cool. In the middle of the night.
There were definitely weird sounds going on in the middle of the night, but I think it was the pipes were like not at all insulated in this very old building.
It's a fire trap.
Right. Oh, it might have been a fire trap. I don't know.
What are some of the paranormal stories you've written with your animals?
Okay. Well, I've got in the Necromancer a story about a cat, and this was inspired by actually a cat we found when a decade ago now. More than a decade ago, my mom found there was a cat who'd had kittens under her house. And I thought, let's catch those kittens. And so in retrospect, obviously it would have made more sense to just get a live trap from like a humane society in the first place. But I was younger and so excited by the idea of kittens just spawning under my mom's house that I set up like a bed sheet with strings tied to the end, and I sat on the roof perfectly still for hours waiting for the kittens to come out and eat the food in the middle of the bed sheet, and then pulled it and caught the kittens. And we had to use a live trap to catch the mother because she was an adult and not going to fall for that kind of nonsense. But we got her fixed and re-released her because she was feral. But split the litter of kittens. My mom took 2 kittens and I took 2 kittens. And one of them was a lovely cat who looked exactly like the other one. We named them after the Ghostbusters. So the 2 I got were Peter and Ray. My mom still has Winston, and but he's the last one alive at this point. So she had Winston and Egon. And Peter was a lovely cat who looked exactly like Ray. And Ray, I think there was something just wrong with him. We tried, and he just sort of cowered and hid, and we were never, even though we caught him as a kitten, he just kind of stayed feral. And, eventually we let him escape, and that was clearly what he wanted, to not be in a house. But I wrote this story about that, sort of trying to process, like I've always been really good with animals and I really value my pets. And it was upsetting to have this cat that I tried with. And like when he left, Peter started acting differently because we found out he'd been beating Peter up. Like Peter's just covered in like secret claw and bite marks that he'd been hiding from us. And he was not getting those from the other cats we had because the other cats wanted nothing to do with Peter or Ray. And actually, after Ray escaped, we gave Peter to my mom so he could be with Winston and Egon because we figured he'd be happier with his litter mates who were not insane. Sometimes animals aren't quite right. I don't know what was wrong with him, but he was kind of just innately feral. Anyway, I wrote a story called Cold Tail and the Eyes, sort of make peace with what had happened and process it. And so it's about a feral cat that gets taken in, and it's from the feral cat's point of view, and it doesn't see the person in the story because you're seeing through the cat's point of view. As a person, it's just these hands, like these hands that reach and grab, and the hands are scary and it doesn't like them. And the cat eventually escapes, and I'm pretty sure what ended up happening to Ray after he escaped is we had a crazy cold snap that winter, and I do not think he survived it. And so in the story, the cat escapes and it's really cold, and the cat then goes into this sort of surreal place where it faces off with sort of a guardian of hell, like a 3-headed, it has a cat head and a rat head. And I can't remember my own story right now, but I know it had 3 heads somehow. And it's sort of given this choice of you can descend into the underworld or you can return to the hands and find a way to be tame. And so it's like a cat facing the underworld, and he goes back to the owner and learns to recognize that the hands are attached to eyes. And the eyes are something that makes sense to him. Like other cats have eyes. And describing it, it doesn't sound like a ghost story, but it feels like a ghost story when you read it, I think. It was intended as a sort of a ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I like that.
I can see it. Suddenly the cat snatched up in a sheet and tied up in like a
yeah. Yeah.
Catnapped, as it was.
Yeah.
So, well, Mary, before we let you get out of here, we always want to make sure that you get time to promote your book and where you can be found in all your social media. My 2 listeners I'll appreciate it. So I kid you. We're on in a couple different places, but I like to give the guests time to.
All right.
Get it out there.
Well, I've got a website, maryloud.com, and loud, as you could probably see, is spelled LOWD. And I, list all my new books there. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. There are too many social medias.
Yes, there are.
but I do sort of vaguely try to monitor all of those and cross post things to those. So I post stuff about what's going on, what I'm working on those places. I have a newsletter that I'm not as good about as I should be that you can subscribe to through my website. And so I'm putting out books fairly fast these days. And I've got a whole bunch that are already out. Also, if you're just curious about furry fiction, which, fiction with talking animals, I also run a magazine called Zooscape. And it's basically up there just to show people, like, this is what furry fiction can be. Because people get weird ideas about what that means. And it's really a very broad umbrella. It's just animals. And so if you want to read stories about animals, check out Zooscape. I think it's like zooscape-zine.com.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, I was wondering if our chat was going to chime in on anything when they heard it was a furry guest. I was like, I'm kind of worried about this.
Oh, yeah, no. It really just means I like animal books. Like Watership Down, the Redwall books. Recently read through the Animorphs books, which I somehow missed when I was a kid. Those are actually pretty furry because they're always turning into different animals. It's a term that's much broader than most people think.
I agree. Do you believe it? Do you believe in like werewolves and Bigfoot and stuff like that?
I mean, I like thinking about stuff like that. I'm kind of a skeptic at heart. Like, I think that most things can be explained by science. There's still a lot of room even within that for some pretty amazing things. Like, we don't know everything about the universe. And like, we don't know about what's outside of the universe. Like, is there a multiverse? And how many things does that possibly open up?
Yeah.
So
very true.
Yeah. Well, if you ever do any homework on Bigfoot, a lot of people believe that they come from a different dimension and they're just passing through here.
I kind of like that. I've never heard that take. And all, like, as an editor of a furry magazine, I do get sent a lot of stories about Bigfoot, but I've never seen one with that take. That's really neat.
Yeah. Yeah. Ron Moorhead wrote a book called Quantum Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And it's pretty deep. It's pretty fascinating, but I've talked through the show here. I've interviewed, gosh, I couldn't tell you how many people. And that's some people, you can't convince them that it's not a big hairy ape, but a lot of people are coming to grips with, we haven't found a body. There's usually associated with UFOs or orbs or some other kind of paranormal. So it's like they're starting to come around to the idea. So yeah.
Well, I mean, if there's a multiverse, there are definitely universes with Bigfoot for real. And if there's a multiverse, who's to say that we don't sort of slide between different parts of it with our consciousness?
Yeah. Or in our dreams. So, yeah.
Exactly.
So a lot of people say it when you're having dreams that you're traveling. What is it? Astral travel. So,
I mean, it definitely feels that way sometimes.
Yes, it does.
There was a cat we had, the Calico, who the Necromancer was originally based on. She just disappeared. Like, we didn't see her get let out. That must be what happened. That, like, our younger kid was like 2 and must have opened a door and the cat got out. We never saw it happen. We just, one day, my husband and I looked at each other like, when was the last time you saw Heidi? I was like, not today. And I think it'd been like maybe a day or 2. And it was just, she was gone. And we looked for her for months and months, with like papering things, flyers up. I actually have a ghost story about that experience, come to think of it. Because I would dream about finding her over and over again. For years, it got to where I would know I was dreaming if I found Heidi.
Mm-hmm.
And it started to just feel like, okay, that's my time to visit Heidi.
Yes.
As if she shows up in my dreams, that's when I get to see her.
Yeah.
So she definitely feels like she turned into a ghost for me.
Oh, wasn't it Shay? Just a few weeks ago, we had a guest on that had their cat come back and haunt them.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the cat passed away, and they buried it in their backyard. And then one evening she kind of heard, like, it wasn't like a growl or a meow. It was some kind of noise right outside the door. And they had fox around the area and potentially coyotes, but the noise couldn't really be explained away by either of those. And I think she said they only heard it one other time, but they were just like, "Oh, it's the cat."
I like to think that when we lost Heidi, my husband was trying to get tenure. He's a professor, and that whole process is a very strange thing. Basically, you either get tenure and you get to stay with your job forever, or you don't get tenure and you have to leave and move to an entirely different place if you want a vaguely similar job. And we really wanted to stay living here because we like the town that we live in, and we're very stressed about it. And that was right around the time we were going to find out whether he'd get tenure or not, was when Heidi disappeared. And I like to think that she left as a way to like tie us to here. Like, well, we can't leave without Heidi. So the universe has to make it so that Daniel gets tenure, because we can't leave now. You can't leave where Heidi is. And since she disappeared, she'll always be here.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
We've always said too, your pets have a way of coming back to you too, because Travis had a dog that he had for like 14 years, and this dog was like everything mixed into one, and the oddest looking dog that I have never seen another dog that looked like it. But whenever the kittens came around, when Mama brought us her kittens, one of the cats took a very particular liking to him. And he would say, "I swear to God, it's like Bear got put into a cat."
Yeah.
Because Bear would go sleep under his desk, would go everywhere with him, and Izzy will come scratching at the door while he's in his studio working, and she's got to come sit up on his shoulder, and he's got to hold her and love on her, and then she'll go behind his desk and sleep.
I've had this idea for a long time that I've never figured out how to actually write as a story well, but like, I would like it if when I die, I could come back as not just a cat, but like my cats, like in sequence. Like, you know how like cats have 9 lives? It's like live through each like of their lives. And so it's like we're kind of mirroring each other, living through the same thing on different sides.
You're right.
That's a really cool idea.
Biography through cat's eyes.
There you go.
That would be wild to think you're laying in the room with you right now.
Yeah.
4 times over.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've never figured out how to actually write it. I do like to think about it though.
But that's an awesome idea.
So
but
like,
I can definitely see where you
someday
struggle
I'll
as
be
a
Heidi, realizing like it's my time. I have to leave now so that they will get to stay.
It would have to be like 5 alternate universes that come together.
You've got your own little Marvel multiverse there.
the cat verse of madness.
The cat verse.
Yeah, the cat. I like that. Cat verse of madness.
Hey, we'll give you ideas. So, well, Mary, we've kept you longer than I promised. I'm glad you come on. I appreciate it. I know you were booked with time and stuff, and we squeezed it in. So I'm glad you came on. I've had a great time.
Yeah,
This was really fun. I'm so glad you invited me. It was really nice to meet all 3 of you.
Oh,
Nice to
thank
meet
you.
you too.
And any viewers and listeners as well.
The two of them will probably go like your stuff. So,
Oh, there's actually all these words over here that I haven't been reading.
yeah, just
Space
the
platypus,
chat.
that would be cool.
Yeah, there was well, he was talking way back there. They were asking about the space otters, Nanu from Mork and Mindy.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
I loved that as a kid.
live long and prosper. Yeah, that's it.
Live long and
Showing
prosper,
my-
definitely.
Showing my age. So
I loved Mork and Mindy.
Yeah.
yeah, that was one of my favorites. So
I would love to see a space platypus.
Yeah.
I haven't actually done any fiction about platypuses yet.
There you go.
Well, I still want to do sort of a Star Wars, but my version. So I think a platypus might fit well into that.
Welcome
I see.
to
I
the
picture
team.
my version of Yoda is a fennec fox frog hybrid.
Yes, I can
A
see that.
platypus would fit right in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
Cat Vader.
Well, my
The
version of
entire
Vader
room next
would
to me is
be
Star Wars.
a lion who has actually over time decayed, and it's not so much the lion anymore, but like a group of octopi who are puppeting its skeleton.
Ooh,
I like that.
I put thought into this.
I like that.
I like that.
It's
That's great.
creepy, right?
Well, do me a favor. When you get your next book ready to go, come see us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if
Absolutely.
you in your cat zine, what the magazine, if you get Bigfoot stories, send those over to me. We
Okay.
love to talk Bigfoot.
Okay.
So, but yeah, let's keep in touch, and we'll get you back on the show when you get your next one out.
Okay. That'd be fun. Then I guess I'll see you guys later.
That's
Alrighty.
what we hope. Have a good night, Mary. Thank you very much, and thank your significant other for doing the IT. So,
But yes, I will thank him.
And give all the chin scratches.
Oh, yeah.
So many chin scratches.
To yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe more to the cats. Maybe the dogs might like
They're
it.
all you. They're all you.
Right.
Doesn't taste like Doritos. No.
That's why you've got to treat the cats really well.
They will overthrow us one day.
One day.
They will rule.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Have a
guess
good night.
I'll-
Mary.
Head out then.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a good night. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.
She was great.
Fantastic. Oh my
I love
gosh,
her
Such
because
a fun conversation.
she is a carbon copy of my best friend
Oh yeah.
and talks just like her. I'm just like,
That's great.
Great.
Yeah, she was real busy, and I guess with her husband and writing and everything, and so she's like, I don't know if I'll have time to do a show, and I'm like, okay, well, here's my email address, just get back to me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe, and she's like, all right, tell me about your show.
she was great.
Like, we're a little weird sometimes, so, but
Sometimes.
it's just Cheyenne, so.
Oh god.
What can I say?
We have
Yeah.
so much fun on here.
What
We
people
do.
love about me.
We do. It's a great time. Well, before we wrap it up, I wanted to see if anybody in Florida was out
Oh, yes.
at the big what do you call that thing? The thing.
The tip.
Yeah, the tip. Okay. Apparently it is not live. So they must have power outage there. Well, that sucks. So yeah, so I just pulled it up and it's daylight there, and I'm like, it's not daylight there.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it looks like about 11 hours ago they lost power. Oh, wait a minute, hold
Oh
on.
my God.
There's a different one up.
Yeah.
What in the Sam? Hold on, I gotta get this up on the screen. Share screen, entire screen, yes. What in the absolute hell is this? what has Hurricane blown?
Oh, hilarious. I love it.
What in the absolute hell
It's
is
a
that?
blow up dinosaur costume.
Oh my god.
That's
You know,
fantastic. They knew everyone would be watching.
you know.
Hilarious.
Oh,
I was like,
that's
okay, well, it's not
beautiful.
live. It's not live. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Here's another site. And I guess they have more than one camera.
That, oh my gosh.
Sweet Jesus. This has made the show.
He was kissing the tip.
It looked like he was doing more than that to the tip. Saw a little humping action going on there.
You talk about doing a paranormal show. This is the kind of stuff I want. So
There
for
we go.
our radio listeners, there is a dinosaur at the southernmost tip of Key West.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that Hurricane Milton just drug it up. And I now want to watch to see if the cops show up.
Right? They probably have enough to worry about without this nonsense.
They're driving by going, leave the damn dinosaur there.
Okay, I gotta say, it would probably freak me out if I drove by that.
That's ridiculous.
Oh my, yeah, as soon as I found a live cam, I was like, wait, what the hell is this?
Hilarious.
I wonder how long they've been out there.
I want to like see him like start dancing or something.
Oh,
I would die if another dinosaur came along.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just gonna walk
But
down
if
the
someone
street.
saw this and they have this costume too and they show up. Oh, are they leaving? Maybe it's getting too rough down there.
Well, I mean, maybe they got washed up. Maybe it's Godzilla. He got washed up in the storm and he's off to attack Key West. And we saw it
Oh
first
my
live
gosh.
here.
Wow.
People.
Well, we said that there would probably be something good.
We
But
saw it.
I never anticipated a dinosaur.
That was something.
That was something. That was great. Yeah, I was like, wait, what is?
You know, this reminds me of this radio show that I heard, and they do Florida or not. So they'll give you a story, and you have to tell them if it's Florida or any place else in the world. This would be that story. Only in
This
Florida would you see a dinosaur.
Out at the tip during a hurricane.
And there's a hurricane. You plainly see it at the top of the screen.
Maybe
there.
they wore the costume to stay dry.
Well, I mean, I guess it kept them dry. I kind of hope he waddles back down.
I want to see him just come running through the scene. Because there's going to
Right?
be like waddling
Or like blowing, like, oh,
Mm.
with its little T-Rex arms.
We need to do a search and see if there's been any dinosaur sightings in Key West. If so, we need that person on the show. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it up for a few minutes while we're wrapping up. Shay, what do you got going on?
Nothing.
We're gonna have something coming up. We got a big chat coming up Friday night.
Oh, well, since we didn't tell everybody, though it was kind of mentioned, I do start my new job next week.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I will hold on, let me go back so I can quote this correctly. Hold on, I gotta go back to the comments here a second. So I will label myself the hottest big-breasted vixen of Nicholas County 911.
There you go.
I
That's
expect
quite the
pictures.
title.
I expect pictures. So
You didn't even get one for your birthday, so
I know. I'm so disappointed. Even Amanda sent me one. So
I told you your panties got lost in the mail. They're somewhere in Oklahoma.
yeah, well, they'll show up eventually. So, and have we heard from Erin?
No, she's probably still recovering from her.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
I said I should have checked on her the next day.
That was
I
great.
saw the video.
There was more than one.
I think her husband was even surprised at the last one. Like, what? Who's this Glenn person?
Right? Who are
I
you
was seeing
sending
lights.
this to?
So I'm wondering if somebody is pulling up or if they're doing a dinosaur beatdown. So off screen.
Like, we're gonna be. Oh nope, there it goes.
It's great. It's a golf cart in a hurricane.
Yeah, someone just whizzed around there.
It'd been funnier if it was the dinosaur driving it. So
Right.
I've seen
It
a
looked
lot.
like a
Oh,
tour
gosh.
bus. Was that a tour bus?
I don't know what.
There's the tip. Anyone want to get out?
Go
Lick
get
it.
now.
Somebody go lick the tip.
I think the dinosaur did. So
Did something to the tip.
I'm not sure.
We're gonna have little tips in about 9 months.
Cuba's gonna get jealous.
Oh, we're just going to see all the little tips running around.
They're gonna be
So
cute.
proud.
And I'm gonna send them all to West Virginia.
I don't want the little ones.
Well, he'll grow up to be a big one. Didn't you see that? I guess it's too wet to wear a Bigfoot costume down there. Holy cow!
It's never too wet.
More lights.
Oh, get your fur
Oh,
all
yeah.
moist.
Yeah, that would be a mess.
What's a spotlight?
It'd be
They're
a little
looking-
smelly.
Wasn't it a spotlight? They're looking for the dinosaur. See if another one's washing up. We will shit our pants if one just swims up out of the water. I'll be like, I had it here.
Flies up there.
Just
Wait,
wash up like a mermaid.
I knew it. Godzilla does exist. So,
With his little T-Rex arm.
Now I want to see somebody in a velociraptor costume. And they got to fight it out.
King Kong. I keep
Just
hoping.
through the bottom there, you just see somebody in an ape costume chasing the dinosaur.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Are we on Halloween night? I wonder if Halloween night there's any antics on this camera.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's
That
Key
would be
West. There's gotta be.
Fantastic.
I'll have to check the calendar to see. No, that's a Thursday night, so we won't have a show.
We could celebrate it on Wednesday.
Well, yeah, but I think that the fun stuff would probably happen Thursday. You know what?
I feel like there would probably be fun stuff going on all week, to be honest.
It's Key West. It's always a party. Well, you know what? We could always just go live if something cool happens. So we can just, something crazy happens, we'll just go live and go, look at this.
As
Well,
long as
well-
this is still standing after tonight.
Well, we'll have to look and see if the hookers dress up.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
was thinking the same thing.
Shay, maybe that should be the night we do our cameras on Halloween.
Yep, that would be a good one.
We need to do some homework and find all the live cams, because I've been searching and they're kind of hard to find. You got to almost find them and bookmark them. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this one is kind of a regular one, or normal one. I think this is actually a TV channels. But you know, that the one guy that does live now, I think it is, he moves his around a little bit, and the bar cameras are pretty stable, but you can't find all the bars by just putting in like bar live search. So you got to kind of look for them, like no names of bars and stuff. So we can do some homework and see. But I don't think, well, it's got to be something really good to beat a dinosaur walking around.
Now, if one of the hookers wants to walk around in that,
Well, I don't know that you get a whole lot of business that way. So.
you'd probably get a lot more people to stop. Well, you've got to find out what I'm wearing underneath it.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my gosh.
I know as soon as we end this, it looks like there's headlights there. As soon as we end this, I know something crazy is going to happen. So I just feel like it. So, of course, I never would have envisioned a dinosaur. So
That
No.
was fantastic.
No, I was hoping to see some more drunk women get washed away.
well, maybe the dinosaur scared him off. Imagine being drunk and showing up.
Right.
There's a dinosaur.
Oh, I would be on the ground laughing.
Well, it was hard for me to contain myself. I was like, oh, sweet Jesus, I've got to get this on the screen before it walks off.
I'll tell you, these aren't as hard of waves as last time, but these are more like straight.
I think it's the wind.
Yeah.
It's, well, it says the wind is constant at what, 25 up there. And I don't think the wind was constant with the last one. I think it was just gusts. But yeah, well, they showed the buoy on one of the, I don't know, Weather Channel or Fox Weather or one of the, I don't know, some channel. And, you know, they're about that size and they're pretty large. And the National Weather Services has cameras on them. I wish we could see them. And they were showing the seas, and there was like 12 to 20 foot waves with that hurricane.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, if you follow physics, energy never stops. So it's just continuing and crashing up on the shore. So it's kind of cool. But yeah,
Chris,
and this
those sound cool.
Yeah, the light up shoes were great.
I need Kentucky blue, not turquoise.
I think there was a green and a blue, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think there was a green and a blue. So, but yeah, we can do that.
You missed it. It was a fun night with Warren. Us discussing the 7 laws of ass eating.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew them well.
Mm-hmm. Well, we
I'm
were
sure
we were working them out together. So
while trying to stay FM friendly. So.
Yes.
Oh my god.
It was the 7 laws of grass eating, where you have to clean the lawn, and make sure it is in proper condition.
Do you totally clean the lawn or leave just a little bit?
No, you want a totally clean lawn.
Yeah.
Scrub the lawn good. Yeah, so we did pretty good.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised though that because Travis and I had went shopping earlier that day, and I was looking up the pictures for them, and I was telling him how I found the BJ kit.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, wait a minute. Why does a BJ kit come with lube? And nobody questioned why the BJ kit came with lube.
Unless it's something flavored that you
It
can
was
put
not.
on it. No, it's like just KY.
Just lube.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a runner.
She got heels on?
I don't know. I think she's barefoot.
Yeah,
Taking a picture.
Yeah, Chris, I'd heard that too. She's like, I'm done. I
Yeah,
heard that too, that there was birds trapped in it. I don't see how they could have stayed in it for so long, though, because they said they were in the eye for like
it's crazy.
48 hours or something. But
Oh my gosh.
I guess they just stayed aloft. I don't know. But yeah, they were trapped. So
Oh my goodness. That's
I did
awful.
hear that. But yeah, because they actually have a loop when the eye come ashore, you can start seeing that band of birds dissipating.
Hmm.
So wherever it was in, was it Sarasota, has got a whole bunch of birds right now of some kind. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I didn't think they could survive, but I guess they can. I mean, for
On that
T-Rex.
radar there on the screen, it looks like it's farther up northern Florida at this point instead of down where we're
Yeah, they
watching.
said it was going to turn up north slightly because they were worried that Orlando was going to get the bad side of it. I don't know. I'd have to look at the map and see if they did, but
Yeah, my
Just
aunt
saying,
and uncle,
they can't catch a break. That's like what, 2 within a week?
yeah, my aunt and uncle are in Ocala. I'm worried about them.
well, a lot of people went from Tampa to like Orlando, you know, or
Wow.
Jacksonville, you know, so they were like, we're going to get away from it. And yeah, you didn't. So I had a friend that's down by the big lake down there, and she sent me a video of tornadoes. She's like, there's like 12 tornadoes on the ground in the county where she lives right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I'll have to text her and check and make sure she's all right after the show, but hopefully she's watching on her phone. But yeah, well, no, she probably doesn't want to watch if she's lost power and kill her phone battery. But yeah. We're talking about going north, and I think that Tampa was still going to get the flooding, and then of course the whole state's just getting soaked, and there's been so many tornadoes on the ground. So, but
It is a very moist state at this moment.
It is.
Yeah.
But I believe the government has got people staged and in place, and at first light that they'll start going out and fixing stuff, so, and rescuing people if they need to be.
Yeah, my friend Sarah said like the hardest part was supposed to hit at like 2 a.m. She's close to Daytona Beach.
Yeah, that's on the opposite side. Yeah.
Yeah. So she said their worst part is going to hit about 2 a.m.
Yeah. Well, the eye is already, looks like it's offshore, so it's going to start picking up strength again. So, yeah. Whew. I don't know. I want to move to Florida, but I don't think I want to move down there. I think I want to move on the Panhandle side. Get 2 shots at getting hurricanes thrown at you.
Why do you want to move to Florida so bad?
Cost of living.
When you've got this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can still have this. I'll be in Pensacola. We'll be far away from the tip.
No, I mean, when you got the weather and everything to worry about.
Well, I mean, but here's my point. Who would have thought that the hurricane would have made it up as far as you all? So, I mean, you really can't, you know, and there's earthquakes in the mountains. So you're not going to go anywhere and be weather safe. That's not a thing.
No.
You know, and the hurricanes don't scare me. This is what I tell my mom all the time. The hurricanes don't scare me as much as the tornadoes. You can be asleep in your bed and one pop up from a thunderstorm right behind your house and you never know it. You know? Yeah, exactly. So, you know, the tornadoes worry me more than the hurricanes do. You see them coming. I think they had 5 days notice on this one. So
it's crazy. Tornadoes, you don't.
Nope.
No notice.
Earthquakes either. So
I will gladly stay in the mountains.
Well, I mean,
got another walker.
I like the mountains a lot, but as a kid, we never. I was somebody with it's probably their phone. As a kid, we never went to the beach, never once. So it wasn't until I was an adult that we went to the beach, and so I think that's why I like the beach so much.
I'd like to have a place in Hilton Head.
Yeah, and tornadoes are terrifying. I went to when I was in Knoxville, and I was with the volunteer fire department, and we didn't have tornadoes up in Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. And they said, you need to get out of the station, go home. Tornadoes are coming. Be prepared to come back, though, but go, take care of all your stuff. And I'm going down the road, and behind me is all I can see is this black cloud. And, I'm like flying to get home. And as I'm coming in the front door of the house, I've got the doors still swinging wide open. I can hear the tornado coming, and the power it was one of the old TVs that takes a minute to warm up and you get the audio first. Mm-hmm. And just as the audio was coming on, if you're in the Margie Isaacson, I'll never forget her. She was the weather lady. She says, if you're in Coreyton, take shelter now. And as she said that, power went out. It came up the ridge, hopped over the top of the ridge, over our neighborhood completely, went down the next side of the ridge through a field.
Wow.
So, yeah. I was already, I was left the door open. I was diving. I literally was diving down the stairs in the basement. And I had never, that was my first experience with a true tornado. So, yeah, not a fan. And as a firefighter paramedic, I've run calls with, the aftermath of tornadoes. Not a fan. So, yeah. So,
yeah. So destructive.
You can't tell where they're going to come up, how strong they're going to be. Yeah, there's just, So, no, not a fan. So, but all right. Well, I'm sure you got to get
for us whenever it hit here.
Oh, the hurricane?
No, when we had the tornado touchdown here, I was at work, and for some reason the bank felt we needed to stay for 3 hours after the power went out. For some reason.
Weird.
To wait. But when you're out of holler surrounded by mountains on either side, we didn't have to worry about anything except for one tree being down in the road.
Yeah. I can't tell if that was the cops or not. Hell, the cops may not even be out. You never know.
You wouldn't expect anyone to be out, really, but this is the strongest hurricane they've had in a very long time. So everybody's like, I want a picture.
Yeah. Well, luckily Key West has just got a band of it, so it hasn't been that bad down there. So, but yeah, the middle of the state has been ripped tonight. So
yeah.
So and that's one of our top viewing areas. So we hope all of our listeners are okay. So, but
stay safe.
That's right. We've got a big chat scheduled for Friday night, and then the Misfits on Saturday night, and then the finale of Big Brother is Sunday night. So we've got a long weekend here,
where you can tune in for us to bitch about them giving Chelsea the check already.
Yeah.
You are correct, Chris. You are correct.
Yeah.
Probably. We should go.
I'm wondering if one of them were the dinosaur.
Should go look at the bar cameras in Key West and see. Oh, hold on. I won't kill it just yet. But we'll see if any of the bars there.
Yeah, even in the comments, they were like, "Where'd he go?"
All right, you guys, I'm going to head to bed.
Hey, look at that. They're still partying. They're staring at a bar during a hurricane. All right. Yeah, we need to get out of here too. So I don't see a dinosaur though. They look awfully dry. So, well, the street looks dry. Well, I mean, down there, there's a lot of the surf going in. So, but yeah, you need to get to bed. We'll wrap this up. I'm not sure which one that was, Chris. So, but so we got a long weekend set up.
Oh, that was Hog's Breath.
Okay, well, we can check it out. We can for a quick second on our way out the door. unless something big and unless there's a how the hell do I do that? Unless there's a dinosaur out there, so it's outside. That would have been a better angle to go to for the dinosaur. You know, it looks kind of empty at Hog's Breath. So, all right. Well, everybody have a great night. We will see you Friday night. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Love you guys.